Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Item 4, additions, deletions, or amendments. We have none at this point. Item 5, adoption of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda as presented. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Saucier, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. Yeah, question?
So maybe I missed it under additions there, for section 17. Are we able to add something?
Sure. What would you like to add for section 17?
I'd like to, as we just heard, a wonderful rendition of the O Canada. At the last meeting, we talked about potentially doing something at the Canada Day festivities, so I'd like to have
Follow
an
up.
open discussion with council on that.
Okay. So 17A, Councillor Lorrain. Oh, Canada. Okay, so a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Saucier. Well, it's already done, so now it's as presented. Seconded, Conseiller Brisson. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 6, disclosure pecuniary interest. Conseiller Brisson.
Oui, l'item 11K, je dois déclarer parce que mon épouse travaille chez BDO.
K. Conseiller Brisson. Okay. Any more disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, move on. Item 7, adoption of minutes from the special council minutes of May 31st, 2018, and regular council minutes of June 4th, 2018. Motion to approve the following minutes as presented. Moved by Councillor Saucier, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. Questions, comments? All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 8, presentations, we have none. Item 9, delegations. Delegation presented by Monsieur Maurice Lemieux, request for Parc Yahoo to stay Parc Yahoo. Monsieur Lemieux, je vous invite à monter à Lutrin. Vous avez 5 minutes.
Anyway, thank you so much. I heard otherwise because I still came here to say my things that I had to say. And then I noticed at the 5:45, the people wouldn't fit in the hall. The delegation
I think there's a few issues here today for a few
Okay.
people.
Anyway, it wrote it in French. Bonsoir. Donc, si vous avez, je ne sais pas s'il y en a de vous qui a eu les pages que j'avais faites.
Oui, tout le monde l'a eu.
OK, donc ça va être plus court, je pas. Donc, je viens le porte-parole du gros Albert Bordeaux. Donc, il y en a pas beaucoup de vous qui le connaissaient. Donc, avant sa mort, il avait bien dit, écoute, Marie-Berthe, si jamais il m'arrive de quoi, il dit, donne tous ses papiers du centre intégratif à Maurice Lemieux. En tout cas. Puis, donc, c'est un peu pour ça que j'essaie de... C'est des pionniers du village d'Embrun depuis les années 1940. Et puis, moi, je m'étais impliqué dans les 1968 avec lui. Puis, c'est pas presque qu'on avait peur, mais à peu près. Il était autoritaire, puis il nous donnait des tâches à faire, puis on les faisait. Donc, j'étais avec sa gang. Il jouait lui-même à plusieurs sports, dans les petites panthères en 1960, les grosses panthères en 1970, il était l'organisateur. On avait gagné la Coupe Hardy du Canada en 1976. Donc, Camille Boucher s'occupait des 72 d'Embrun, et puis il ne pouvait pas venir parce qu'il était opéré, il était encore à l'hôpital. Et moi, je m'occupais du ballon-ballet depuis les années 1970 et 2000, puis des juniors C et B depuis 1998. Donc, le terrain en question, le Parc Yahoo, on avait égrandi le terrain de l'aréna en achetant M. Pilon. Donc, parce qu'on voyait qu'un jour, si le village commençait à grandir, on voulait avoir plus grand. On est acheté, on a négocié les prix, et puis on l'a eu. Puis c'était pour le futur. on voyait le village se développer. Puis on a planté des herbes. Puis là, en question, le Volkswagen Fest est devenu. Les pompiers s'amusent avec ça. Puis c'est plaisant de les voir chez nous pratiquer ce qu'ils ont de bon à faire, puis nous montrer leurs habiletés. Les familles viennent de camper. Il y a des fois, ça vient pour une couple de semaines. Là, j'avais commencé à cabaler il y a 2 semaines passées. J'ai lâché. J'étais sur la rue Marcel, puis je parlais à des gens, des madames, et puis je voyais des madames rouler dans l'herbe, puis avec les petits. J'ai dit, c'est quoi qui se passe là? Ben, elle dit, Madame Arleson vient pratiquer ces gens-là. Donc, je dis, hey, j'ai dit, c'est bien mieux que se pratiquer dans un parking lot. Donc, dans le Marcel, je dis à peu près ce que je veux dire. Là. Donc, je pense aussi que, peut-être un petit point que, vu qu'il y a tant de personnes qui étaient là, ils étaient tous parkés sur la rue Marcel. Je pense qu'un avantage, ça serait peut-être de remplir le fossé qu'il y a là, puis faire du parking lot. De cette manière-là, vous n'aurez pas à couper l'herbe pour 330 pieds par 20 pieds. Puis il pourrait avoir du parking sans que ça serait dangereux. Bon. Et puis, aussi, ça vient d'une vieille histoire que peut-être personne de vous autres était ici. Je pense que Mme Dominique n'était pas ici non plus. Donc, quand moi, j'ai créé le parc Camelot sur mon terrain, c'était un terrain à peu près semblable que ce qu'on a aujourd'hui. Ils ont dit non, M. Lemieux, vous ne pouvez pas mettre une maison là parce qu'on veut voir tout le parc. En cas qu'il y ait quelque chose qui arrive, on peut voir tout le parc. J'ai perdu l'occasion d'avoir un lot qui valait probablement 100 000 $ aujourd'hui, mais c'est correct. Puis, avec toutes ces affaires-là, là, si vous remarquez que vous avez l'accès du Laurent Saint-Thomas jusqu'à moi. Bon, vous avez perdu avec ces négociations. Quelqu'un qui avait mal fait des décisions. S'il m'aurait donné ce lot-là, j'aurais donné ce terrain-là, qui était à 13 lots de 50 pieds de profond sur le bord du ravin.
Monsieur Lemieux, il te reste 2 minutes, so s'il y a un
Oui, ça
point
s'en
à
vient,
faire,
ça
peut-être
achève.
oui.
Ça achève. Tu comptes vite. Et puis, donc, c'est pour dire qu'aujourd'hui, je pense que Mme Dominique réalise qu'elle va venir me le chercher. Là. J'étais avec un autre morceau de terrain. Allez, t'as voir. Je reviens au parc Cahoux. J'avais déjà Camille Piché, Jean Brisson, la rue Marcel, les pompiers, les joueurs de balle, Mme Arleson et l'ancien comité des loisirs. J'ai cancellé la gang. Merci à vous. J'ai appris que tout se ferait mieux. Je voudrais qu'on respecte les vieux de la vieille. Bon, les vieux, c'est les avant moi. Aujourd'hui, c'est moi qui ai rendu le vieux. Et puis, je veux respecter la liste que mon garçon puis mes petits-enfants de ne pas toucher à ce terrain-là. Puis, je vais dire, pour finir, je vais dire, c'est peut-être pas de votre faute. Je vais être gentil, là. C'est peut-être pas de votre faute. Vous n'étiez pas ici. Donc, pas tout à blâmer. 3/4 de vous sont arrivés ici. Il y en a qui viennent de Vanier. Excuse. Il y en a qui viennent du nord de l'Ontario. Il y en a qui viennent de la ville, de ce secteur. Donc, le village, le centre du village, c'est notre parc récréatif pour les récréations. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Lemieux. Next item, item 10, consent items. Motion that all items listed under consent items be received as presented. Item A, minutes of the Accessibility Advisory Committee of March 27, 2018. And item B, minutes of the Environmental Advisory Committee, April 25th, 2018. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Conseiller Brisson, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Move on to item 11, reports from departments and council committees. Item A, insurance policy contract renewal, report FS 24-2018. That council receive report FS 24-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and that council adopts the bylaw as presented, awarding a contract to Jardine Lloyd Thompson Canada Inc., JLT, for our general insurance policy for the term of October 1st, 2018 to September 30th, 2019. Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Godin.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Maire. Bonsoir, chers membres du Conseil. So first of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Carolyn Corkery from Helping Insurance Brokers for joining us tonight. As we've discussed in previous meetings, our agreement with Frank Cowan for price stability expires on September 30th. So we retained Ms. Corkery's services to prepare the procurement process and to make recommendations on renewal. So as you'll see in the report, in Schedule A of the report, Ms. Corkery went through the process. We've received 2 bids, one from Frank Cowan Company and another one from JLT. And in Schedule A, you're going to find a summary of the findings of comparisons between both proposals. I won't go through all of them in details. I might just mention three comparables for your information, and then move on to the recommendations. So basically, both companies had matching deductibles of $20,000. One area where Cowan had the advantage was on replacement costs for automobiles. So the replacement cost coverage is applicable for 25 years versus only 20 years for JLT, which does expose certain risks for a couple of our vehicles in the fire department if we were to go with JLT. But the difference in premium essentially is $50,000 less for JLT compared to Cowan's. So as you'll see in the recommendations, we are proposing to move forward with JLT for the period of October 1st, 2018 to September 30th, 2019, and with a price stability agreement for 3 years with that. So I've asked Ms. Corkery to join us tonight in case you have any specific or technical questions regarding the proposals. And so I'd like to leave it at you guys to...
Thank you very much, Mr. Godin. Welcome, Madame Cork. Members of council, any questions, comments? On est une économie de 50 000 piastres. It's 0.5% taxation right there as far as the savings, so thank you very much for that. Seeing no questions, Mr. Godin, if there's nothing to add, we'll keep moving on.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Item B, Russell Transpo Public Transportation Contract Report EcoDev 03-2018. The council approves the report EcoDev 03-2018 dated June 18, 2018. That council approves the recommendations under subtitles Implementation of Express Bus and changes to service effective summer 2018, including in Appendix D for this report, and that these be effective starting July 3rd, 2018. That council approves the recommendations under subtitle Promotional Programs, including Appendix D of this report, and that these be effective in August 2018. And that council approves the proposed bylaw to extend the contract for 1 year from July 1st, 2018 until June 30th, 2019 with 417 bus line for 4 routes, equivalent to 836 kilometers at a variable rate of $1 per liter at the following rate, $623,273.20. And that council approves the proposed bylaw to amend Schedule A7 transit fees of the user fees and charges bylaw 2017-099. Monsieur Leduc, Madame Tremblay, this is a file we've had multiple discussions on. Members of council, I'm not sure if you have any questions on this. We had a lengthy discussion at the previous meeting. If there's anything you'd like to add at this point in time. Or Madame Tremblay. Monsieur Conseiller Lorrain?
Sure, I guess I'll start. So, I guess the one part is, and I need to understand the math a bit more on this one, is we're increasing the amount that we're guaranteeing in price per liter, or per liter of fuel, from 95 cents to $1. And from my understanding, that is where the basis of the actual $623,000 comes from, right? Is that fuel projection or that fuel guarantee of that $1 a liter? Is that my understanding?
Madame Tremblay?
So the dollar is to calculate the variable rate. So the $1 compared to 95 cents is what we're gonna pay in difference of what the actual price is. So before, if the price was $1.25 and we were paying, the contract base was 95 cents, we were paying 30 cents extra per kilometer. Now we're gonna pay the difference between $1 and the actual price.
So
Right.
So the amount owing every month is gonna be less than what the actual contract is right now.
However, we're gonna pay more from a contract perspective to get that gas by 5 cents a liter.
We're not
Because that's what we're
paying,
guaranteeing.
yeah, but we're not paying more for the actual fixed rate. So the fixed rate is what was in the report of 600 and, so the fixed rate is 623,273, and the variable rate is where the dollar comes into place.
Okay, let's not talk about the variable rate at
Okay.
this point.
So
So
your,
just that,
yeah, your question is if the $1 affect the 623? I don't believe so. So the actual price is the same as the fixed rate is the same as when we were paying 95 cents. So that's why,
So he's gonna absorb the 5%?
yeah.
Is that my
he's
understanding?
absorbing the 5 cents.
He's gonna
per
absorb
liter.
the 5 cents?
Yeah.
Okay, that's one piece. The second piece, and I sent out an email, I think, last night, so everyone is aware of the questions that I had. The contractor, so they're keeping their price the same as this year. And we're gonna go up to $1 from 95 cents. And on top of that, we're going to give them 10% of all bus wrapping revenue.
Yeah.
How much is that?
I would say not a lot at this point. Right now, the bus wrap, if I'm not mistaken, is 1,500.
Okay,
So it's not a big amount, and as we discussed, and to make it, this is something that was supposed to be included in the last agreement extension, which was not. So when we had contract in the last couple of years to bus wrap the bus for publicity, the question was asked. I reviewed the contract and it was not included, so that's why the contractor is asking us to
Including at this time.
include it at this time as it was previously supposed to be included.
okay. Can I keep going?
Yep, go ahead.
All right. If anyone is following along, section 8G, can I just make sure that we have the right terminology for this? And Madame Tremblay, Monsieur Leduc, or maybe even Madame Boldeau, but the definition of guide dog versus service dog. And I just want to make sure that we're using the right terminology so that somebody with a service dog, which is a requirement for them, is allowed to board if that's something that they need to do,
Yeah.
versus just a guide dog. I think that's the terms that are being
Yeah.
used now. We don't want to refuse anybody that should be able to board.
If I may
Madame
comment
Tremblay?
on it. If council decide to go that route with approving the contract the way it's proposed, I suggest that this could be changed in the agreement that could be signed. So if something that I could get a direction from, I could change the
Yeah.
guide dog for including it.
Councillor Saucier?
Yeah, guide dog is specifically for sight
Yeah.
impairment, where a service dog could be anybody like with post-traumatic stress disorder or a child that has autism or something like that.
Okay.
Madame
If I
Tremblay?
may also clarify, this was the actual contract that we had. So we started from this, so that's why there's sections that needs to be refined, and this is something that we would include and
Yeah, essentially, this is a contract back from 2008
8.
that
yeah.
we've just continuously renewed, and we're tweaking it at this point in time.
Yeah.
So on top of that, the others were just comments for cleaning up stuff. And, I guess for me, at this point in time, this contract is now 10 years old, and it's gone through, I think this is the third company that's taken over this contract. I think at some point in time, we need to actually go to market on this contract, because it never has gone to market. We were pushed into offering this service back in 2008, when service to Emblem was cut instantaneously with a week's notice. So want to make sure that we're getting fair value. I know there's a huge issue with the price of fuel that we're paying, even with the fact that we're guaranteeing the dollar, and he's quote unquote absorbing that 5 cent difference in the standard fee, which we can dispute and discuss it for a long time. The fact is, we at the township can get a better rate for fuel than this contractor can today. And we've seen it. We get a certain discount, a certain rate that is out there, and our taxpayers are now paying for that difference. which they shouldn't be paying. So I think there's definitely areas of opportunity to make sure that this service is affordable for our taxpayers that are using the service and for the taxpayers who are not using the service and are subsidizing that service. And yes, do I think transit is an important piece of this community? Absolutely. We also have to make sure that our taxpayers are taken care of and not being taken advantage of in certain circumstances. And to me, this contract is that, with the fuel prices anyway. That overage, we're already at $11,000 this year, so project that out. That's $22,000 to $25,000 in overage charges. And I think it's about $100,000 since, if we count this year, $100,000 since 2014. That's a lot of money. That's 1% taxes right there in overages for fuel, when that price probably could have been around 20 or 30,000 had the contractor been getting a decent price for fuel, right? Which right now is retail. So
Okay.
I'm going to, when it comes to the time to vote, I'm going to reluctantly agree to a 1-year extension on this contract, but with the understanding that I think administration needs to start the process today going forward so that come June next year, we have everything in place. We've either gone to tender or this contractor has come back with a better offer and better rates for our taxpayers. So that's where I stand on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. I would suggest that we pull this item separately, and perhaps we have an amendment to put that into this resolution stating to start that process right away. Conseiller Brisson?
Oui, moi, je sais que je suis en désaccord avec conseiller Lorrain, parce qu'en disant qu'on paye trop cher pour le fuel, we just have to know something. It's not the same fuel that they're putting in. There's two things that we have to know. We have 4 buses for us that they're supplying. They're businessmen, and they know the difference too. Because what they're having now, it's Diesel X. And it's a diesel that is cleaner for the environment, il est plus clean pour l'environnement. Puis ça a été prouvé, puis là, ça, il y a des choses, des preuves à l'appui, que ça prend 7% de moins de fuel avec le Diesel X que le diesel ordinaire. Donc, remettez 7% de consommation de moins. Le diesel, qui est à 5 cents de plus, il vient qu'à se comparer au même prix dedans. Fait qu'en disant qu'on paye trop cher, désolé, c'est pas parce que c'est la coop qui le fournit, parce que ça a été le commentaire. C'est un produit que ils savent que c'est meilleur, puis leurs autres boss, s'ils n'étaient pas pour faire de l'argent, they wouldn't use it if it wasn't good. Because we only have 4 of all that float. So that fuel, as I was saying, good for environmental, 7% less, and a lot less maintenance on their bus. And that was confirmed by La Plante itself. So that's one thing I have. The other thing I have a problem is, since we're saying, okay, we're going for 1 year, what about stabilities for the 3 years? That we're saying, with 3 years, we guarantee to all the public, that we'll have a service at a good price too. And that we guarantee that the service is at your need. It's not going to be private, it's going to be administered by us so that we have, and also by going with the 3 years, we're saving just the first year over $8,000. And the 2 other years, we're saving not as much, but almost. So put those 3 years together with that money that you save, and I think we have a real good deal. And it's not because I want more La Plante than Le Duc, but just look, compare with Rockland, that they have Le Duc, and instead of us that we're paying $12,000 per bus, they're paying $19,000 per bus. I'm not against having a new contract but not waiting, like now it's done in end of June, that we have a new contract done and it's stop having some just erasing and putting some back. But I think we have something important here with that transit, and we should be able to commit for this 3 years. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Before Monsieur Lorrain, I'm sure, has a comment, I just want to clarify. Councillor Lorrain's comment about the co-op was nothing against the co-op.
No.
It was against the price that 417 bus line is paying for the fuel. So just the way you explained it, you seem to insinuate that there was something against the co-op. There was nothing against the co-op. He was referring to the contract they have with the co-op, and he feels that it's paying too much
That's
for
why
that
I
thing.
did explain that there was the 7% proven less consumption, and it's comme c'est plus environmental friendly.
Oui.
Puis aussi pour les moteurs que c'est mieux.
Oui. Je voulais juste clarifier
Oui.
ce point-là. Question, commentaire?
Yes. I
Conseiller
have
Lorrain.
plenty. So I guess I'm confused over who Monsieur Brisson is representing today, whether it's the taxpayers, the co-op, or La Plante. He says he's getting a good deal on gas. He's paying retail. How is that a good deal to our taxpayers who are subsidizing that contract? The reason I said I'm going to go for 1 year is so that this administration can actually look at the contract and go to tender, go to the market. We've never gone to the market. How do we know $615,000 is a good deal? You don't know that. I don't know that. We know that because 417 is telling us that. That's how we know that that's a good deal. That's not a good deal. They were doing it private beforehand and making money before they were getting subsidized $150,000 a year of provincial gas tax money. So do we know that our taxpayers right now who are paying $245 a month could not be paying less money per month for their pass? And that the rest of the taxpayers weren't subsidizing 1% of taxes every year? We don't know that. So we can't sit up here and say that the contract for 3 years is good because 417 says so. That doesn't make any sense. So let's touch on a couple of things that you said. The gas price. Yeah, the township uses a different type of diesel. You're right. However, the rack rate on the diesel price they're paying here is only 4 cents less than what the diesel rack rate is paying for that higher end diesel. And yet the 417 are paying 20% more for that same diesel that they're getting. 20% more. That makes no sense. They should be paying around probably $1.10, $1.11 a liter, and we're paying them $1.27. How is that reasonable? That's why I cannot guarantee 3 years. But we didn't say, and nowhere in my comments did I say, shut it down after a year and do something else. I said, go back and study it and make sure that we can get the best deal for our township. And if the best deal comes back next year and it's 615 or 620,000, because that's what everyone's contracted and they came back to us in a tender, then we know it's a good deal. But as of right now, in 10 years, this contract has never been tendered. So how do we know that we're getting the best value for our money? In contract. I'm not saying the service isn't a good service. I'm not saying they're not providing for our taxpayers. All I'm saying is that in contract, I don't know that we are getting the best value, and I know that we are paying way too much for fuel. Regardless of the 7% emissions and all that stuff, the fact is they don't have any hybrid buses. They don't have any accessible buses. So what are we going to do? They'll send a private service at what cost? I don't know what the cost is. It's not in the contract. So if somebody needs an accessible bus, what do? They don't get to use the service. Whereas other municipalities do have those in their contracts. So let's be fair here. Is this a good deal? In my opinion, no. And I've stated that. But because I know that in 2 weeks, our residents need a service, I'm more than prepared to go for another year. But I can't go further than that at this point in time without knowing everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. D'autres questions, commentaires? Anything to add, Madame Tremblay? No? Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Item C, Community Profile and Town Folio Report EcoDev 04-2018. The council receives the report EcoDev 04-2018 dated June 18th, 2018. Questions, comments, members of council? Madame,
I'll make a
Conseiller
comment.
Laurent.
I thought it was a
Wonderful document.
very good presentation.
Yeah.
I thought they did a fantastic job. So I'd actually like to give
Congratulations.
credit to the EcoDev department, Madame Tremblay, and your group for wonderful work.
Thank you very much. I believe Madame Tremblay has something she'd like to present.
Yeah, so thanks for the comment, for the acknowledge that this is I think it's a good step in what we've committed ourselves a couple years ago for the community profile. So this is a document that we will help to attract new residents, new businesses. So we got a grant for this project a couple years ago, I would say in 2016, at the end of 2016, so that helped to pay for this. So this is a document that is being translated right now, so it's going to be available also in French, and it's going to be on our website. So if I could ask Maryse to, so it's going to be a document, like I said, a flip page that's going to be added to our website, and it's providing basically our history, where we're from, quick facts, so basically best place to live in Ontario, number of hectares that we have for parks, demographic of the Township of Russell, that basically it's all the information that when we have new businesses that are coming to us and asking us question of what's your demography, who's the average price house, so to make an investment, this is what the information that they will be able to have. So we have the price of building permits, the average of how much building permit that we were issuing in per years. So it's all the basic information that people are looking for that are going to be available. Parks and Rec, so we have all of our parks that are listed. That it refers also to the program that could be available on our website. We have access also a couple months ago, I showed Council Town Folio, which is all the information that is accessible through that document. So I know that we're having a hard time, but I wanted Council to see it first before we put it up on our website. So it's going to be available tomorrow on our website. And the last step for this document is to have one sheet quick facts. So we're going to have one for resident and one for businesses that is going to gather just in one quick look all the important information that a resident would be looking for, and one for commercial businesses. So I just want to mention also that all the pictures are from our photo club. So this is something that we worked into collaboration with all the department head, and we're super proud of what it looks like. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Madame Tremblay. Councillor Saucier?
It was just a suggestion. I was going to say maybe like in the park section, we could also mention we have 2 conservation areas as well.
They're in the list on the right side.
Oh, okay. I just missed it. All right. Yeah, perfect. And the boat launch, you have that too?
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah. Okay.
I have to say that it was a pleasure to read this document. You know, you read this and you can't, you automatically have a sense of pride being from here. It was very enjoyable to read. It was very easy to read as well, Madame Tremblay. So I think I look forward to seeing it out there in the public realm. I know that we mentioned the fact that how we ranked on Money Sense magazine. Little Birdie told me today it looks like we're making the next ranking as well. So depending on when that comes out, we might want to incorporate the new rankings as well for 2018. So, Councillor Saucier?
Dad, yeah, they're listed, but they're indicated like that they're just a park. So I just thought we might want to highlight that they're actually a conservation area, that we have 2. So, because it might be just, it's a name of a park, but we actually have the conservation areas with trails and what have you.
Thank you very much. And just to be clear, this is not being mass printed. This is, you know, this will be available online so we can tweak it as we see things needed, and, you know, as we print, you know, small amounts at a time
Yeah, as needed. Yeah.
as needed.
Yep.
So, okay. Perfect. Thank you very much. D'autres questions, commentaires? Conseiller Brisson?
Juste une question, si c'était planifié comme pour les nouveaux arrivants, si ce package-là pourrait être distribué?
Oui, donc au comptoir, quand les gens viennent nous poser des questions, ils vont en avoir des copies disponibles. C'est sûr et certain qu'on va essayer de faire la promotion en donnant notre site Internet pour que les gens puissent avoir accès, comme avec le temps de folio, par exemple, on essaie le plus possible de diriger le monde à avoir accès à ces documents-là sur notre site, mais évidemment, on va en avoir des copies disponibles pour les nouveaux arrivants.
OK. Conseiller Lorrain?
If it's not there already, might I suggest that we put all of our social media communications in there as well, whether it's at the bottom of each page or on a standalone page, our Facebook, our Twitter, our everything there, is it there? Just making sure, and directing to the website and stuff like that, so.
So it's at the back page, so it shows that it's a province that was funded by, for the program, and we have all our Twitter and the website also at the back page.
Thank you.
Parfait. Tu peux-tu ajouter quelque chose aussi to highlight the app, the mobile app? I don't know if that's...
Well, I did mention the app, so.
Yeah. Perfect. No, very, very wonderful project. So thank you very much. As well, I would suggest that we print off copies of this for Tourism Prescott Russell or the EcoDev at the counties, because we know they go outside the municipality and have trade shows and that kind of stuff. That might be a good outlet for us as well to get that information out there as well. Merci beaucoup. Next item, item D, zoning bylaw amendment report PD 33 2018, property located on St. Thomas Road in Vars and owned by Alice Bergeron. That council received report PD 33 2018 dated June 18, 2018, and approves the zoning amendment application submitted by Jean-Pierre Bergeron, care of Alice Bergeron, for the following. One, that the zoning exception designation of the vacant property described as part of Lot 19, Concession 9, located on St. Thomas Road, modifying the general agricultural zone, Exception 45, A2 45, in order to, 1, reduce the lot area minimum requirements for agricultural use from 30 hectares to 3.87 hectares. This amendment is a condition of severance application B004 2018. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? It's pretty standard stuff. We'll move on. Item E, zoning bylaw amendment, report PD 34 2018, property known as 803 Notre Dame Street in Embrun, and submitted by Amadou Elbadawi. That council received report PD 34 2018 dated June 18, 2018, and approves the zoning bylaw amendment for the subject property for the following. To amend the zoning of the subject property in the Township of Zoning Bylaw 46-2011 from Village Core Exception 4, VC4, to Village Core VC, in order to permit the full range of Village Core's uses in order to allow conversion of the existing dwelling to a dental clinic. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? We'll move on. Item F, zoning bylaw amendment report PD 35-2018, vacant land off Central Park Boulevard and York Crossing and owned by 291219 Ontario Limited. That council received report PD 35-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and approves the zoning bylaw amendments submitted by Jean Dakar for the subject properties for the following. 1, to amend the zoning of blocks 139, 140, 141, 142, 143, 145, 146, 147, 148, 149, and 150, and bordering streets on the attached draft plan of subdivision Appendix 1, from Residential 1A withholding R1A-H to Residential 3 Exception 28 withholding R328H, in order to permit construction of townhouse units with an increase in the maximum lot coverage from 40 to 60%. 2, to amend the zoning of Block 138 on the attached draft plan of subdivision Appendix 1 from Residential 1A withholding R1A-H to Residential 3 Exception 32 holding R3-32-H, in order to permit construction of townhouse units with an increase in the maximum lot coverage from 40 to 60%, and to reduce front yard setback for a townhouse dwelling from 6 meters to 3.6 meters for the end unit with an exterior side yard. 3, To amend the zoning of Block 144 on the attached draft plan of subdivision, Appendix 1, from Residential 1A withholding R1A-H to Residential 3, Exception 38, withholding R3-38-H, in order to permit construction of townhouse units, to increase the maximum lot coverage from 40 to 60% for townhouse dwellings, and to reduce the minimum required lot depth for a through lot from 36 meters to 30 meters. 4, to amend the zoning of blocks 132, 133, 134, 135, 136, and 137 on the attached draft plan of subdivision, Appendix 1, from Residential 1A withholding R1A-H to Residential 2 withholding R2H, in order to permit construction of semi-detached dwelling units. Questions, comments, members of council? Please don't ask me to repeat all of that.
I've already said it once.
Question? Anything to add from the administration? No. Okay. And we'll move on to the next item. Item G, that's another long one, isn't it? Yeah. The zoning bylaw report PD 41-2018, property known as 79, 975, and 951 North Russell Road in Russell and owned by Melanie Construction, Inc. That council received report PD 41-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and approves the zoning amendment application submitted by Melanie Construction, Inc., care of Renal Patnaud, to remove the holding symbol -H as follows. From Residential 1A withholding R1A-H to Residential 1A, R1A. From Residential 2 withholding R2H to Residential 2, R2. From Residential 3 withholding R3-H to Residential 3, R3. From General Commercial Exemption 5 withholding C5H to General Commercial Exemption 5, C5. Questions, comments, members of council? Conseiller Brisson.
C'est juste savoir le H, c'est juste que ça avait été mis parce qu'il fallait qu'il y ait les services, puis là, c'est pour la permission de bâtir, c'est ça?
C'est ça.
Puis dans le plan, il y en a plusieurs qui ont des lots dessus, mais comme contre le R1AH, tu as comme une lisière là qui n'a pas de lot d'indiqué. C'est-tu parce qu'ils ne construisent pas comme c'est là dans cette section-là? Ou?
Monsieur le Duc, Madame Tremblay.
Ça, les plans où il y a déjà des terrains, c'est parce que c'est la phase 1 de la subdivision. Donc, la première phase, c'est où il y a déjà les terrains, d'indiquer sur la dernière page du rapport.
OK.
Donc, l'entente de subdivision va être enregistrée pour ces terrains-là seulement pour la phase 1. Puis après ça, on va devenir au conseil pour la phase 2, qui vont être les autres lots qui vont identifier comme phase 2.
OK, c'est parfait.
Parfait. D'autres questions, commentaires? Quelque chose d'autre à ajouter? No? We'll move on. Item H, pay list May 2018. The council receives the pay list for the month of May 2018. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No. Item I, Limoges Water Meter Cost Amendments, Report FS 20-2018. That council receives report FS 20-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and that the proposed bylaw be adopted as presented, amending the cost of Limoges water meters for the Township of Russell's residents receiving their water services from the corporation and the nation municipality. Questions, comments? Conseiller Brisson.
Que je voudrais savoir, c'est que là, il parle d'ajuster le prix en 2018, mais que la Nation avait ajusté leur prix en 2016. C'est...
Monsieur le Duc, Monsieur Godin.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, Monsieur Bousson. Donc, c'est ça, effectivement, la Nation a ajusté leur prix, ils ont changé de 350 à 400 en 2016. De notre côté, on avait manqué cette information-là, cette communication-là. Par contre, on n'a pas vendu aucun meter entre ce temps-là et aujourd'hui. Puis, c'est ça dans le fond, que fait le flag, comme quoi qu'il fallait augmenter le prix. Quand on a eu l'application, en vérifiant avec la Nation, on a été avisé que le coût a augmenté. Donc, c'est pour ça qu'on a pas ça aujourd'hui.
OK.
Parfait. D'autres questions, commentaires? No. We'll move on to the next item. Item J, Capital Charges Bylaw, Report FS 22-2018. That council receives report FS 22-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and that the proposed bylaw be adopted as presented, imposing a capital charge on private wastewater and water service conversions to the municipal wastewater system or water system or both. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Saucier.
Okay, I think that's why most people are here. So I'm just curious why where we got that fee.
Yep.
And it's above, and everybody's paying that?
So, Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon-Godin, my understanding is essentially the fee is based on the DC fee, correct?
Oui, Monsieur le Maire, Councillor Saucier. So essentially, yes, the fee is to mirror the DC fee for properties that are on private services that convert to municipal services. What brought this forward is the growth management plan that was prepared by the infrastructure department. Following that report, we had some meetings together to look at the numbers, and we also met with Andrew Granda from Watson Associates, who prepared our DC review, to discuss the impacts, because essentially what we saw in that growth management plan is that a lot of the capacity that we're creating with the capital project list in the DC study is being taken up from private conversions and not only growth. And which at this point today, we don't charge for private conversions, essentially. So this fee is a fee that's proposed to make, I guess, to make it equitable or to make it fair for everyone who pays their share of what they're getting. Basically, if you want to compare it to subdivision, when you buy a house, well, the developer has paid for all the infrastructure services that go to the house, and they've also paid for the DC charge on top of that, which they charge back to the home buyer. So that's the kind of the principle of this fee. Like we said, we've consulted with Watson, and we also consulted with a second economist firm, Hemson, and so that's what we're proposing today.
Merci, Monsieur Godin. Councillor Lorrain?
So just for my clarity, we're not imposing this fee tomorrow on people as a one-time fee, a monthly fee, or an annual fee. It'll be imposed at the time anybody connects that could connect to a municipal service who are in private services
That's correct.
going forward.
That's correct.
Is that fair to
So
say?
it's a one-time fee when you
It'll be a
apply
one-time fee when they
to
connect.
connect to the services.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Saucier?
And do people have the option, or is it like to not connect? And also, like, what is the payment period? Like, not everybody has $8,000.
Agreed. So basically, for your first question, you have the option to connect. I think that would depend on case. I think council, and maybe Jonathan can elaborate on that, but I think council has the authority to impose a connection if that's what they choose to do. If that would be the case, and in that case, then they wouldn't have a choice. But if we don't impose that on them, then they don't need to connect, right? Nobody needs to connect today. And sorry, what was the second question?
The payment fee, like
Right.
for because it's 4,000
Exactly.
something for the water, and then for the sewer, another 4,000?
Right. So in a case like that, again, it would kind of be a case by case, like we've done in the past with St. Therese, McDougall Tweed. When we do bring services to a certain development or to a certain section or a road, we have to bring another bylaw to authorize us to charge those residents. And at that point, our current common practices is that we do offer payment terms. Again, it's up to council's discretion if we want to do that or not. But I agree with you, it can add up. If we're adding water services and sewer services, 8,000 plus the local services would be a big invoice. So we would definitely recommend to offer payment terms.
Yeah. And I think in most cases, people are voluntarily connecting to the service, to the system. If somebody has, unless it's a local improvement situation where the majority of the people on that street want it and some don't, that's about the only time it would be forced upon them. But the majority of people that want the services, obviously, your septic system is 25, 30 years old, you need to connect. That's the charge. Mr. Godin?
Maybe just to explain a bit more or to give additional context. Basically, obviously, council has a choice to not impose this fee or to not adopt this bylaw. The impact on that would be that when we would review the DC study every 5 years, well, essentially, since capacity is being taken up from private conversions, the DC rate, we could expect that will go up accordingly.
Right, because all the investments that are being made into infrastructure upgrades, if we're not charging those to the people who are taking advantage of those infrastructure upgrades, then it would be thrown onto the growth portion. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Conseiller Brisson?
Thanks. if I understand properly. It's just that whenever they pass the pipe in front of your place, then they can obliger là, you to pay because it's a improvement, but you don't have to connect. Then whenever you're connected, it's just that you're using some space on the lagoon, and that's what is used as a new project. It's just the same whenever you have a new project. The DC charge are for the use of expansion that was required for those new houses. So that's how
Oui, oui, Monsieur Brisson. Donc, yes, I think you have a good interpretation. Basically, the pipe that goes forward, so we do charge that local fee when we do bring services. But this particular fee here in this bylaw is not for that. This is really for the capacity that you're kind of buying from the system.
D'autres questions, commentaires? No? Okay. We'll move on to the next item. Item K. Yes. Si du monde qui a des questions, if people have questions, we'll have a question period later on in the agenda. You'll be able to come and ask a question. Item K, awarding of the 3-year contract for our yearly financial auditing services, report FS 23-2018. The council receives FS 23-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and the proposed bylaw be adopted to authorize the entry into an agreement with BDO Canada for a 3-year term, 2018 to 2020, for financial auditing services with a cost as proposed below. 2018, $28,500, 2019, $28,500, 2020, $28,500, for a total of $85,500 plus HST. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? Monsieur Godin?
Merci, Monsieur Malch. Un petit commentaire. Obviously, I'm recommending that we give a contract to BDO Canada. I just wanted to mention that our recommendation is in no sense a reflection of our satisfaction with Deloitte. It's just the difference in prices that especially in that recommendation. We've had a great relationship over the last 13 years with Mr. Gary Hoffman and Marc Ferrand at Deloitte.
Yeah, it's just the other group sharpened their pencil a little bit more in this case. Okay. Next item, item L, Finance Semi-Annual Activity Report, Report FS 25-2018. That council receive Activity Report FS 25-2018 dated June 18, 2018. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No, we'll move on. Item M, Signing Authority at RBC, Report FS 26-2018. That council receives Report FS 26-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and authorizes that the mayor or acting mayor and an identified designate to be signatories along with the treasurer, deputy treasurer, or assistant treasurer for the following Royal Bank of Canada account 116-197-7 general account, and that the mayor's designate be Jamie Lorrain. Questions, comments, members of council? Conseiller Lorrain?
I just think in this circumstance, because of the bylaw that we passed at the last meeting, the or acting mayor and identifiable designate are going to be the same person.
That's correct.
So do we need to have both of them in there, or?
Monsieur Godin? Madame Camille Lafemme?
Oui, Monsieur le Maire, Councilor Lawrence. So yes, so you bring a good point.
I'm fine leaving it the way it is. I'm
I
just
guess-
saying.
No, I know. I think we can leave it the way it is, and it's going to do the same effect. But you're right. We wouldn't really have needed to put or acting mayor in that case, or we wouldn't have needed to really identify you since they're both identified in the same.
Okay.
Phrase.
Perfect. Move on. Item N, Asset Management Activity Report, Report AM 04-2018. The council receive Activity Report AM 04-2018 dated June 18, 2018. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No? Move on to item O. Noise Bylaw Amendment, Report PIC 17-2018, request for Canada Day fireworks to be held in Russell between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. on July 1st, 2018. That council receive report PIC 17-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and approves as recommended the noise bylaw exemption to allow the Russell Agricultural Society to hold fireworks in the soccer field of the Russell High School during Canada Day activities between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. on July 1st, 2018. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add? Pretty standard every year. Thank you. Item P, signed bylaw amendment report PIC 18-2018. That council receives report PIC 18-2018 dated June 18th, 2018, and as recommended in this report, denies the request made by Mr. Armstrong to amend signed bylaw 2016-052, which regulates election signs on township properties. Questions, comments? Councilor Lorrain?
Can I just ask that this item be pulled out, please,
Yep.
and dealt with separately? P like Peter, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
D'autres questions, commentaires? Conseiller Brisson?
Oui, juste le commentaire que après les élections provinciales, qu'on a vu que les chemins de comté,
Oui.
the county road are allowed to put
Yeah.
a sign on.
That's been addressed at the county level, and at the next meeting, the county bylaw should be changed to reflect Russell Township's bylaw. So at
It will
the
be
next,
changed.
at the next council meeting of the counties, the request has been made that they essentially do the same thing that council here has put in place. Councilor Associé?
Yeah, I just was wanting to request to pull J out as well for voting separately.
Jay as well?
Yeah, on the wastewater and,
Okay.
because I don't want to vote it all as a package.
So we got B, J, and P so far. Oh, and K as well for the declaration pecuniary interest. Okay. We'll move on. Item Q, Retail Business Holiday Act, Report PIC 19-2018. That council receives report PIC 19-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and as recommended in this report, denies the request made by the Russell Foodland to amend the Retail Business Holiday Act to remain open on statutory and civic holidays. Questions, comments, members of council? Conseiller Lorrain.
Yes, I just wanted to make one clarification, I guess, from what might have been written in one of the papers, that the Christmas time period was not part of the request from Madame Boucher during that presentation. I think it was erroneously reported that way, so that's the one piece. The second piece is I'd like to take this one out as well and deal with it separately at that time, and I'll make my comments then.
Yep. Perfect.
all
Any
right.
other questions, comments at this time? Okay. Move on to item R, Infrastructure Services Semi-Annual Activity Report, Report ISPW WAT-WW 02-2018. The council receives report ISPW WAT-WW 02-2018 dated June 18th, 2018. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No, we'll move on. Item S, construction of sanitary sewer on La Madeleine Street, report ISWW 02-2018, and I have a feeling that's why quite a few of you people are in the room tonight. That council approved the proposed bylaw to award a contract and to authorize the entry into an agreement with Robert Excavation for the construction of the sanitary sewer on La Madeleine Street for $1,153,273.80. plus $20,297.62 for a total of $1,173,571.42. This amount includes a 1.76% of non-refundable municipal HST, and that council approves to increase the budget to $1,485,253 to include all engineering costs, construction costs, and a 10% contingency. And that council approves to limit to 10% the contingency charged to the homeowners and approve that the private wastewater and water system conversion capital charges bylaw does not apply to this project. And that the project be financed by a loan and paid as per the distribution set in Appendix E, and that the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the agreement. Maybe we'll let Monsieur Bourgon go ahead first.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Essentiellement, c'est pour approuver le projet de construction pour l'installation des égouts et une station de pompage pour la rue La Madeleine. Mais également, aussi pour souligner le fait que les estimés qui avaient été faits pour ce projet-là, donc les coûts réels sont beaucoup plus élevés. Donc, nous avons rencontré les résidents de la rue La-Madeleine la semaine dernière. Donc, il y a une différence de 10 000 entre ce qu'on avait comme estimé un an et demi passé comparé au prix qu'on a eu suite à l'appel d'offres. Un appel d'offres qu'on a eu seulement 2 soumissionnaires. Mais encore une fois, c'est un appel d'offres qui était public. Plusieurs invitations ont été envoyées à plusieurs contracteurs. Donc, suite à la rencontre, les résidents ils ont fait quelques demandes que je voulais partager avec le conseil. Présentement, pour la station de pompage, il y a un 17 des frais qui seraient absorbés par les résidents actuels if we base ourselves on the ratio of units that's available in that station. Right now, the estimate at $31,000 per resident shows that they're paying their 17%. So one of their requests would be for the township to actually pay that 17% of the owner's share of the station. And in our last appendix, so Appendix E, council can see what the impact of that $79,000 would have if we would to proceed with a 20-year loan. So it's a repayment of $5,400 a year. Their second request was not to charge any interest on the loan if a resident would to repay within 20 years. So Mr. Godin did the math based on the interest rate that the township would have on a 20-year loan, and that represent just a bit over $300,000 for the township in interest, with an annual repayment of $15,000. Va un petit peu plus loin, Maryse. Merci. So in this table, you can see in the lower little table the value of those requests. And the third one was that the township, that the contingency that we base ourselves on would be capped at 10% for the residents. So if something unusual happened throughout construction and we go beyond the 10%, well, township would take that extra cost.
So if, for example, if it was 15% higher, the residents' share would only be up to a maximum of 10%,
Yeah,
correct?
that's correct.
And if it was just 5%, then the residents would get the savings of it only being 5%.
That's correct.
Okay. Just
So
make sure.
that saving would be reflected automatically on that 31,000 that they currently have as an estimate. Well, as based on the tender price.
Okay.
I also received another request by email after that meeting that the engineering costs of the construction of the sewer be taken by the township. So it's not in this table. I received that comment over the weekend, but
What's the cost of the engineering?
it's $76,000.
Okay.
Also, after the tender process was over, we re-looked at our drawings to see if there's any cost saving that can occur. We managed to find some savings, which were confirmed by a contractor. But since we don't have a legal agreement with the contractor at this time, we cannot set a price on that saving of changing the elevation of the sewer. We know roughly, again, since it's not an official change order, we cannot guarantee that price. But we know there's a cost saving, which again will affect directly the 31,000 that the owners are facing at this time. And also, it's important to say that it's in the recommendation that we recommend that the residents of La Madeleine are not being faced with the connection bylaw that we were proposing earlier tonight.
Okay. Okay. Questions, comments, members of council? Conseiller Lorrain?
Do you have any idea on that? You said each resident was affected by about $10,000 increase based on the price of the contractor, correct?
That's correct, based on our estimates that we had prior to issuing the tender.
Okay.
And those are, you can see a difference in between Appendix C and Appendix D, the tables we show all the addresses. That's where you can see the difference, original estimate and the cost after tender.
Right. And the requests that we have are requesting to take out $20,000 per household? Is that
The-
my understanding?
The request that's in front of council, it's to take over that 17%.
The full amount?
So which represent $79,000 in total. out.
Okay.
So it's a saving of 28,000 roughly, 2,800, sorry, per residence.
So it'd be about 2,800 of, okay.
And that's the difference that you see in the two tables and the two appendix of the package, from 31,000 to 28,300.
Do we know why the prices came in, or why we were off that much on the pricing?
And through Mr. Mayor, we're not 100% sure why, because we got caught off guard on that one. We based our estimates on all the similar project that we've seen in the last 4 years, but it's the same type of increase that we saw with the paving tender as well. There's a major hike in construction business, so we don't have the exact explanation for it.
Operational costs went up significantly, most likely.
Because it's a significant increase for this project. Right? And, when we talk about, 306,000 for the interest, 79,000 for the 17% share of the pumping station, and 76,000 engineering costs, we're talking $450,000. If these aren't covered off and the township has to cover it off, who's actually covering it off? Is it water and wastewater users, or is it all taxpayers? Like, who's covering that additional cost if we absorb it?
Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon?
Well, if we would to go with the loan and use the repayment schedule, so for the 79,000, so that 5,000 to be repaid, it will come out of our the sewer budget as an annual repayment of the loan.
Okay.
So from the rates of the sewer.
So existing users essentially are
Essentially,
who's
yes.
covering the cost.
And the interest as well?
Same
Pumping
thing.
station interest, all that?
Yep.
And then the engineering cost, same thing?
It would be the same thing, yes.
No questions, commentaires? Just to be clear, the township is not making any profit on this. No, it's essentially what we're doing is the costs associated with construction are being passed on to the households involved in the project.
That's correct.
Request that this one be removed as well. Question? Conseiller Brisson?
Comme que tu disais, le paving, OK, c'est 100%, mais il me semble ça remontait un peu avec le prix du pétrole. Mais quand tu arrives juste la construction, c'est 100% pour la ligne. Y a-tu des schémas qui ont changé? C'est-tu plus profond, une pipe plus grosse, ou c'est juste le coût? C'est le matériel, la pipe, a-tu coûté plus cher, bien plus cher, ou c'est le coût d'opération? C'est à quel niveau que ça a changé? C'est-tu le plan qui a changé? C'est-tu le matériel ou c'est le manpower?
Monsieur Bourgon?
Merci, Monsieur le maire. L'augmentation, c'est vu je vous dirais, au niveau de tous les différents items du contrat. Que ce soit le matériel, que ce soit le labor, peu importe, mais l'ensemble du contrat a une augmentation. Donc, c'est pas nécessairement un item spécifiquement, c'est vraiment un ensemble d'éléments.
Well, like it or not, minimum wage went up roughly 30% last year. That has to have an impact down the road at one point in time. Councillor Lorrain? When I say minimum impact, essentially, you know, if a construction worker was making $15 an hour and now he can work at Tim Hortons for $15 an hour, $14 an hour, chances are he went to see his boss and he said, you got to pay me more than I can make at minimum wage at the Tim Hortons doing, you know, essentially the same job. So, I mean, there's an impact, like it or not, there was an impact in the raising of the minimum wage. Conseiller Lorrain?
2 questions.
Yep.
The first one is from the 17% owner's share, could that not be covered by growth? Or should that not be covered by growth since we're putting a pumping station there for future development?
Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Godin?
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Maire. Councilor Lauren. So essentially, for the pumping station costs, we've already established a number of units for growth and a number of units for existing. So 17% is the percentage of the existing. We're already financing 83% by growth. So it's already been established that there's a portion for growth and a portion for the existing properties.
Okay,
So essentially what that means is that 83% of the pumping station costs and the engineering costs for pumping station is the limit of what we can go get from the DCs from the growth.
Similar to the earlier report where we're talking about, you know, capacity being used by somebody connecting to the system. This is a portion being by the residents who are going to connect to the system. It's not related to growth. Monsieur Leduc?
Members du Conseil, this is to assure council that this is the same formula we used for example, pumping station 8 on St. Mary, whereas existing had to pay a share, or their valued share, and growth paid for their share. So we feel that it needs to be equitable for everyone who's in the same scenarios where we used formulas before, and in this case, it's got to be applied the same way.
Conseiller Lorrain?
but we don't need a pumping station there. The reason we're putting a pumping station there is to accommodate future growth as well, not just for this project.
Monsieur Bourgon?
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Just to correct your point, Councillor Lorrain, we did need a pumping station because we don't have the elevation to capture half of the street.
So if we
And
don't,
that's a report that was presented to council last summer as well. We will proceed with the design with a pumping station in order to service the full street. Otherwise, we can only capture half of the resident.
I thought we were able to capture them all, but we were choosing to put the pumping station in because it was going to be less expensive for the homeowners because we didn't have to break up the road on the other side.
We had to put the pumping station regardless. We designed one a bit bigger to have the proportion to the residents smaller.
so if we didn't put a pumping station, we'd only capture half the street. So that means half the residents on La Madeleine wouldn't have available services.
That's correct.
And because we have to put a pumping station to capture everyone, now we're oversizing it for future growth. And that's the 83% that's being charged to future development.
That's correct.
Follow-up question?
Yeah, well, just a follow-up question to Mr. Bidison's comments earlier. I just want to make sure that we understand when we talked about paving there a minute ago, and we talked about the cost and whatnot, just want to make sure that no one is of the impression that the project is paying for the paving of that street, correct?
That's correct.
The paving is being paid for out of taxation.
That's correct.
Okay. Because I know that was a big piece of the whole discussion previously, and I just want to reassure the residents that are in this project that they are not covering the cost of that paving project under this local improvement, but it's being paid for by taxation.
Correct.
Okay.
Conseiller Brisson?
Et c'est juste pour revenir justement au commentaire positif de M. Lorrain, que tout à l'heure, on a dit qu'on voulait charger une taxe de DC pour ceux qui vont se connecter, aux nouveaux qui vont se connecter, parce qu'on dit que justement, il faut que ça aille dans le DC parce qu'ils se connectent. Pourquoi que là, qu'on fait un système justement pour l'amélioration de ça, comment se fait qu'on ne peut pas utiliser tout le DC au complet, même si c'est des maisons déjà existantes?
Monsieur Leduc?
Monsieur le membre du Conseil, bien, en fait, le projet de la Madeleine date pratiquement maintenant 10 ans, et pas plus. où est-ce qu'il aurait voulu, il avait l'intention de connecter à cette période-là, puis il n'y avait pas d'espace dans les lagoons. Donc, on a retardé l'accessibilité aux lagoons. Maintenant, elle est là. Et puis, en plus, on avait présenté aux gens de la rue de la Madeleine les chiffres bien avant l'introduction de ce règlement-là. Donc, on pensait que c'était, encore une fois, par rapport à l'équité, c'est équitable de ne pas appliquer ce règlement-là parce qu'il n'est pas encore en vigueur. Puis, les frais qu'on veut connecter ici, à ce moment-ci, ne sont pas
Non, c'est pas
dans
ça
nos
que je
listes de
voulais dire.
dépenses.
Excusez, c'est pas ça que je voulais dire. Moi, c'était juste, je suis d'accord de ne pas leur charger ces frais-là. Ce que je disais, c'est que tu disais qu'on ne pouvait pas mettre le plein montant des DC sur le projet parce que si tu n'as pas des nouvelles maisons, c'est ça que tu avais mentionné? Ou si on peut tout mettre comme le DC qu'on peut
Le,
sur ce projet-là?
le 83 pour le pumping station, c'est de la croissance. Mais il y a 17 du pumping station, 17 des coûts que c'est pour l'existant. So, c'est pour ça que l'existant, il faut qu'il paye pour cette portion-là.
Oui, mais l'existant, ils ne sont pas connectés après comme c'est là.
Non, mais ils veulent
C'est
se
ça.
connecter, right?
Oui, mais c'est ça. Mais là, on leur dit aux autres, à l'autre bail-là, qu'on dit, même si tu es existant, là, tu veux te connecter, on va te charger des DC. Donc, pourquoi que c'est rien que 80 C'est ça, je comprends pas, là, dedans.
Monsieur Godin?
Oui, mais c'est pour ça. Je ne suis pas certain le lien avec les 83 mais je veux juste être clair. L'autre règlement, on ne charge pas les DC. On charge un frais qui est équivalent au frais de DC, juste pour faire le parallèle.
Le connection charge.
Mais c'est pas de l'argent qui s'en va dans nos réserves de DC. C'est de l'argent qui s'en va quand même pour le same purpose, pour financer la portion municipale de ces projets-là, mais c'est pas des DC qu'on charge. Je sais pas si ça répond à ta question.
Excuse, j'ai peut-être dit le terme DC là, parce que les montants sont pareils, mais c'est vraiment le connection fee dans ce cas-là, dans l'autre projet. D'autres questions ou commentaires? Conseiller Lorrain?
If you're asking for a comment, I think it's, the numbers that come in are disappointing, obviously. And I don't know where to go on this one and how we resolve to fix the situation. I mean, like you said, it's been going on for 10 years and the prices essentially doubled, right? The budget was 600 and we're asking for 1.4. So more than doubled.
Yeah.
So people that were expecting a $15,000 fee now are getting $30,000 fee, basically. So it's, this is a tough one. I guess we have to take this one out and deal with
Yep.
it separately.
Yep.
I'm sure there'll be many questions in a few moments, so we have to
Okay.
take all those.
Perfect. The next one should be
Oh.
pretty... Say, Lorrain?
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Could council decide to allocate 100% growth to that pumping station, if it so chose?
Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Godin?
Merci, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Lauren. No, essentially, it's the DC Act that we're following, and when we use the DCs or funds that we've collected through DCs, it really has to be spent towards growth. And there's a list of criteria that have to qualify in order to really be considered growth, which is why we go through this study every 5 years to see every project, what is and what's not. And essentially, it's you would have to be able to justify and to explain why it is. And in a particular case like this, I think it's pretty straightforward to see that, like, there's a project we're constructing a pumping station, and a portion of the usage of that pumping station is existing property, so we can not allocate a certain an amount to that.
Well, would that number change, though? Because if we're saying half the street could be done without it, so shouldn't we only be allocating that additional amount and not the entire street? Wouldn't that be a way to get that number down? Right? Because it wasn't a requirement, so that's growth.
I see what you're saying, but I would argue that if you would go down that road, so half that street would have a reduced price, but the extra
Other 6
7 houses or 8 houses, then they would have to recoup that,
pay more.
essentially, because the pumping station is giving us a certain number of units that we can service, right? And we're allocating a certain number of those units to those houses, so I see what you mean, and I'd like to be able to also be able to reduce that that
So is the
burden.
number of units stagnant? So when we say we build a pumping station and it can do 200 houses and that's it, or can more houses attach to that at some point in time?
I'll have to let
Monsieur
Bourgon
Bourgon?
answer that one.
Monsieur le Maire, there's always that possibility, but several changes need to be done. In this case, we went to the well or the holding tank. That's the maximum it can hold. At this time, like the number of units that it has as a capacity. So we won't start with the right size of pumps, but we know it can be upgraded as well. But the number of units we're basing ourselves on to split, that's the maximum it can go.
I'm just concerned that that for this pumping station itself, it's gonna serve more, ultimately gonna serve more than what it's being built for today. And those costs for those people that are gonna connect later on aren't being taken into account in this circumstance when we're talking about an 83-17 split. And that we're building this pumping station not specifically for this group of residents, we're building it as well for growth. And why that growth component can absorb more of the percentage than what that 17 is taking, when we know other houses and other things are gonna eat into that anyway at some point in time as growth. So I don't believe that the 83-17% is the accurate number.
Monsieur Godin?
Merci, Monsieur le Maire, Councilor Lauren. I just maybe wanted to add a last point just regarding that 1783. When we look at these projects, we do have those conversations, and we do like try to think further down the line to see what is it going to service exactly, right? So, and if you see the tables here on the cost split, it went from 33% to 17 because we, I guess, identified that we will grow there. So a larger portion was attributed to growth already. I just wanted to reassure council that we do that exercise because we don't want to charge our residents a large amount either. This is at a certain point. The DCI does draw a line, and I mean, if we do want to reduce that number, there's a point where it can't be DCs. It would have to be water rates, or because essentially somebody has to pay for it. It's going to be DCs, it's going to be water rates, or it's going to be the owners that are benefiting from the project.
So I guess my question now is, have we put into our calculations the most amount of future people who would split this? So, for example, we went from 33% to 17% because essentially we said, okay, we'll be able to allocate more people to this project to growth. So we've lowered, in your opinions, have we lowered that percentage as much as we can from an administrative point of view? Monsieur Bourgon?
Based on the water usage or the consumption that we see today, yes, that's correct. That's the maximum according to the max unit that can fit in that size of pumping station. Again, it's based on the type of usage that we see today.
Okay. So I know you had a discussion with the residents, and I understand they're not happy. You know, we're talking about an extra $10,000. That's normal. It's 50%. Are we planning to go back to the residents and ask them to confirm? I guess my question is if all of a sudden, when we originally spoke to the residents, we had 70%, 75% of residents that wanted this. Normally it's 65%, correct? If we went back with these new numbers and we don't get that 65%, is that are we looking at that step? Because I'd like to confirm there's still 65% of the people who want to do this. Because if there's not 65% of the residents who are willing to pay, then I mean, you know, they can stay on private services and we can pave the road. That's an option as well.
That's always an option, yes.
Because I'd be more comfortable hearing that, you know, do they want to pay? No, you know, I know it's bad that, you know, that we're asking to pay more, but at the end of the day, it's the reality of the construction costs that have been provided and gone to tender for in a proper process. But I still want to make sure that the residents want to do this, because obviously, if they're looking at remaining on private services, then obviously there's a cost associated that for them as well when they talk about, a new septic system down the road. I couldn't tell you what a septic system costs. I'm assuming that it's not cheap. So I just want to make sure that, whatever this direction council goes, that we still have residents that are signing off on this project. Conseiller Lorrain?
That was one of the things I was gonna ask as well. But I mean, I guess, we sit here and we say we've examined all the space that this pumping station could absorb, I guess you would say, based on today's rates. But I know sitting here for the last 12 years, flow rates have changed significantly, and we've increased capacity significantly since the water has come in. So thinking from that perspective and the way water is being used and used today better than it was before, I'm sure that there's still room to move on that 17%. So I would think that we could lower that amount. I mean, it's not a huge number of 79,000 that we could move, but you move 3-4%, whatever that number is, that's still a savings to this project. I don't know how we get on a savings from the interest rate without, is it, half? Is it all? I don't know the answer to that one in terms of who's going to subsidize that, right? Because right now it would be existing users that would have to eat up that interest rate. If it was engineering costs, I could probably live with the engineering costs if it was just the engineering cost. When we factor everything in together, I think we really need to go back and get an understanding of where everyone sits. The question I have for Mr. Bougon is, with the contract that was tendered, was there a clause in that contract that allowed for the not awarding of a contract? Or are we bound at this point in time to do this project based on the tender?
Monsieur Bourgon?
We always have the option of not awarding the contract. We keep a clause in all our documents to opt out.
Okay.
It's
I
like
only
in-
asked that because there has been situations over
But
my
in-
12
in-
years where we didn't, so.
In this case, our all documents protects the township in that way.
And how long is the price good for?
I would have to go back our document exactly.
60 days probably, 30
or
days,
even
60
90
days?
days.
90 days? So
we're
we would have
we're still
to,
within that time frame. The other variable as well, it's timing to get it, like if the decisions to proceed this year, well, like we're
And
already.
then the price will go up
mid-
10%
mid-
for
we're
next
already
year.
mid-June.
Yeah. We don't necessarily want to find ourselves with a huge increase next year. Monsieur Leduc?
So, ma'am, on the comment about usage, I think council understands and knows that usage is based on water rates. We're working hard to negotiate a bulk rate to reduce the water rates. So I'd be tempted to say that usage most likely will be increasing if water rates would be lowered. We've seen the direct link between rates and usage. So for us at this time, we had also to be careful about what if the usage goes up, not automatically going down as it is or has been the last few years. So again, we have to provide safety and security to the system, and that's why we are also being careful about the number of usage to allow.
Merci. Conseiller Lorrain?
again, I just want to make sure I'm talking about the ability for growth with the flow rates, right? Okay.
D'autres questions, commentaires at this point? No? Okay, we'll be bringing this issue back very shortly. Item T, South Park Servicing Agreement Report ISWW 05 2018. That council receives the report ISWW 05 2018 dated June 18, 2018, approves a bylaw to authorize the entry into an agreement with Melanie Construction to complete sanitary services for the South Park subdivision and Phase 1 of the Southwest Servicing Plan. That the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the agreement. Questions, comments, members of council? Conseiller Brisson.
Juste une question, vu qu'on a vu que les coûts ont bien augmenté pour les choses des égouts, tout ça, Juste faire sûr que les coûts représentés là-dessus sont avec les nouveaux, que je ne sais pas si ça va être plus haut, pour ne pas avoir des surprises.
Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon?
Monsieur le maire, ces estimés-là, on les a reçus quelques mois passés, venant d'un estimé là, d'un contracteur, mais certainement l'administration va revoir le tout pour s'assurer que c'est conforme à ce qu'on voit dans l'industrie présentement.
Puis ça reflète-tu de qu'est-ce qu'on a vu avec la Madeleine, justement, ces coûts-là? C'est de quoi semblable?
Oui, on est plus dans le même
Même bateau.
même range, là, plus
Ok.
dans le même écart.
C'est ça qu'on compare.
D'autres questions, commentaires? Quelque chose à ajouter, Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon? No? Move on to the next item. Item U, Community Grants Report PR 20-2018. The council receives report PR 20-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and approves the following department's recommendations for community grant donations in 2018 to the following groups. 1, to approve an in-kind grant in the amount of $300 to Valoris for children and adults of Prescott Russell for the rental of Palais des Sports Hall for the CTC cooking classes from July 3rd to August 7, 2018. 2, to approve an ad hoc grant in the amount of $250 to Limoges Citizens Committee for the Boboul Family Day on August 26, 2018. 3, to approve an in-kind grant for $1,236 to the Emblem Optimist Club for the rental of the Emblem Community Center for the Opta Show from November 13th to 17th on 2018. According to the Community Grants and Contribution Guidelines, these requests meet our requirements for funding. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No? Move on to the next item. Item V. Ombudsman of Ontario Investigation Closed Report CL08-2018. The council received report CL08-2018 dated June 18, 2018 for information purposes. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? Madame Camille?
Hello, council members, Mr. Mayor. Just to say that we were not in contravention to the closed session exemptions. That's what the report of the ombudsman said.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Next item, item W, declaration of vacant seat on municipal council, report CL09-2018. This is more for discussion this evening. My understanding is the seat is not officially vacated until it is written in the Ontario Gazette. Is that correct?
Correct. It's when the election is published. And at this point, it's every Saturday. And we've checked and it's not yet, so probably will be at the next Saturday, June 23rd, that
Okay.
we expect to see it.
So we cannot officially declare the seat vacant at this point in time, but we can, we all know it's coming. So we can definitely have a discussion as to how we want to proceed moving forward. Conseiller Laurent?
Two things. The first one is, can we declare the seat vacant and appoint somebody at that same time?
Once it's published?
Yeah.
Yeah.
After it's published, the only requirement is to be done within 60 days. So they do not have a minimum, so.
So we can be prepared that once that date comes where they've published it, that at the next meeting, if we so chose, we could declare the seat vacant and have somebody sworn in that evening, so that they
If
can.
council is all in agreement with the direction and the person has agreed, yes, that
Okay.
could be.
And then the next question is, and I know the answer to this, I just want to make sure, but there is no by-election that's available in an election year after March,
March
Is that-
31st, so because we've passed that date.
because we passed
No
that
bas-
date.
by-election.
Perfect. So I guess the only option is for council to appoint somebody.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. At this point in time, I'll just inform members of council that I have spoken with Mr. Calvin Pohl, who was a member of council at our previous term. And when our mayor, JP St. Pierre, passed away, he did take over for a month as well. He is willing to come in and help us out and fill in for a few months during that time. So I think that I would put Mr. Pohl's name forward as a possible replacement. I think that, he sits on our planning board, has experience. There's no learning curve in that case. So, Conseiller Laurent?
Yeah, just wanted to clarify that he was on council for a little longer than just that 1 month, but he was the acting mayor for that time
Time,
period.
yes, sir.
two things. So one is I have no issues at all. I think that would be a great choice to sit in on council. I think Calvin's got a lot of experience and somebody who knows the municipal process. There'd be no training involved. I think it'd be a great choice to sit on council. However, that would leave a vacant spot on our planning committee, seeing as how we couldn't have three of us on council sitting on the committee.
Correct. So I will have to make a recommendation at that point.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm good.
Okay.
And can I suggest that if it becomes published prior to the July 5th meeting,
Yes.
that we vacate the seat, appoint, and swear in Mr. Pohl before that meeting happened, or at that meeting
At that meeting on July 5th.
on July 5th, assuming Mr. Pohl is available that evening?
Questions, comments, Councillor Saucier? Are we okay with that direction if we
I'm in
can?
agreement with that, yes.
Yeah, so if everything goes well, we can take care of everything at the July 5th meeting.
If like Madame Tremblay said, if the July 5th is still on.
Yes, well, assume that worst case, then if we have to hold a special meeting just to get that done, then we might pick another date. But we want to get that done as soon as possible before council goes on summer break for the month of July.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you. Next item, item X, Town Hall HVAC Unit Replacement Report AM 05-2018. That council receives report AM 05-2018, dated June 18, 2018, and awards the contract for the Town Hall HVAC Unit Replacement and Ventilation Works to HVAC Maximum Heating and Cooling, Inc. for $251,347.20, municipal portion of HST included. And that council approves to increase the budget from $173,275 to $260,000 to include all engineering costs and construction costs and 10% contingency. And that the budget increase be financed by the Asset Replacement Reserve, and that the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the agreement. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? Notice the motions, we have none. I know we've all been waiting for the question period, but I've drank almost this whole bottle of water, so I'm just going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back for the public question period. Thanks, everybody. I see thumbs up, yeah.
No. Yes.
Now open up to question period and a meeting day. Période de questions sur la réunion du jour. So anybody who has questions on the agenda, I invite you to come up to the lectern, state your name and address for the record, and we will do our best to answer those questions.
Charles Armstrong from Castlepool Street in Embrun. First question is on item 11C, and that's on the township profile. And I was just wondering, do we know what the gross domestic product of the township is? How much money is generated in the township every year? We may not know. I mean, the info may not be available. I'm just, do we know that?
Yeah, Madame Tremblay.
Whoa. Scared myself. Yes, we do. I don't know the exact amount. I don't have it in front of me, but with the BRNE that we just conducted, the businesses that were interviewed were asked to give us
Their figures.
and anonymously, we know exactly how much the township, what's the growth that we have for financial businesses.
But that's only,
Yeah, that's only 76 businesses that were interviewed, but it give us at least an average compared to the county figure. So
Okay.
we do have that amount.
a general guesstimate.
Yeah.
Okay, because I just would have liked to have seen that to see how much money is generated, and I would like to have been able to see how the actual financial growth of the township has been over the years as well, to compare with all of the other growth in the township. The next one is on 11J, and that's the capital charges, and I'm specifically looking at section 6.1, and I'm looking at that, and it says, payment is due the earlier of, And the date the township authorizes by bylaw the extension of the wastewater system or water system so as to enable the provision of wastewater or water service to the benefiting property or a number of benefiting properties. So this payment is due whenever you decide to award a contract to provide wastewater and/or water services to an area. Do I understand that right?
Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Godin?
Yes, Mr. Armstrong, I believe you do. That might be wording that we might want to look at together.
Yeah,
To,
because essentially we just said once you connect.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah, because that's not what this says. That says whenever you authorize it, which may be some significant period of time before even anything any construction begins, or in fact, even before a tender is, you have a request for tenders, if you authorize it.
Just to confirm, Monsieur Godin and Monsieur Bourgon, when projects go forward in the future, this is a general overall picture for the municipality of the charges, but when we go ahead with site-specific projects, that's where by bylaw we authorize the payment schedule and that kind of stuff, like we've done with Tweed, McDougal, and that kind of stuff in the past, correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. Another example is the commercial park back here, which we wait until all the costs are accounted for and the project's really final, and at that point we bring the information to council with the bylaw to authorize the charge.
Okay, so do we, if we're going to have to pull that out, if we want to relook at the wording?
Yeah, we will. I'm
Item,
gonna have a look at the.
okay, it's pulled
at
out
the section.
separately, but from the bylaws, we might have to move that forward down the road. Okay. Conseiller Lorrain?
It's a bylaw, right? That
Yeah.
we're talking about?
Yeah.
So couldn't we do first reading tonight if we need to
Yeah, first.
look at it from an update perspective and then bring it back for second and third at the next meeting? I don't think there's an urgency.
No.
There's no urgency. We won't be charging that fee anytime soon.
So, yeah, so I think that's an option we
Option
can
as
do.
well.
The next thing I was going to ask some of my friends here from La Madeleine, they're wondering if this will affect them, because there's no indication in this bylaw, if it's passed tonight, whether or not it will affect the La Madeleine.
I believe in the La Madeleine report, it specifically says that they're not being charged this amount.
But it's not in the La Madeleine bylaw. In the bylaw that you have for the La Madeleine subdivision,
Monsieur Godin?
it's not there.
Oui, merci, Monsieur Maire. Donc, so the intention, our intention is that this fee be charged at the same time as we charge the local improvements. So we will amend this bylaw here to reflect that exactly. And as far as La Madeleine goes, the bylaw authorizing us to charge La Madeleine residents for the local improvements will be brought when the project is completed and the costs have been accounted for. So at that point, when we bring that bylaw forward, which is specific to the La Madeleine project, we're going to mention that exemption. But through that report, we do have direction from council already
To waive it.
to waive it, to exempt it, right?
Okay.
The next one is on item 11P, of course. What bylaw did I ask to amend?
Monsieur Leduc, Madame Bordeaux, excuse, Bourgon, sorry. Didn't mean to marry you guys. Madame Bordeaux, this was for the signed bylaw amendment, c'est ça?
Yes.
Again. Yeah. Township Russell bylaw, 2016-52, as amended, signed bylaw as per the letter you sent.
Yep. 2016-52, but I never asked for it to be amended. I just asked for the director to exercise her power under the section 8.1.12 to authorize signs on municipal property.
Madame Bordeaux,
I don't have the sign by law in front of me, but I believe that it's the township that has the authority, and I'm not the township
No,
council.
I have read that bylaw more than once now. Section 4.1.1.
Okay, Mr. Armstrong, you've asked your question. And
Mr.
and the simple fact is that if it was Madame twice now, Madame Bourdeaux's, if it was her right to do so or not, obviously council just dealt with this within the last few months, and maybe she felt that it was important enough to bring back to council.
Mr. Mayor, my campaign period has started. If you do not authorize her to do it, you are corrupt and abusing your power.
Thank you very much,
That's the
Mr.
way it
Armstrong.
is.
Have a nice day. Conseiller Lorrain?
Makes no difference at this point, but I was just going to ask that all questions be directed to the chair and that there are no back and forth with administration, just so that we hold some decorum at the lectern, that if anybody has questions, that they direct them towards the chair and not back and forth, because then it gets into an argumentative situation, and I don't think anybody wants that, and our staff certainly don't deserve that. So
Thank you very much.
that's all I was going to ask.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes, I'm still Mr. Baker from Forest Road.
Haven't changed?
My question is about the development charges, or the capital charges, whatever term you're going to use. Why are you applying it to existing homeowners that have been here for decades? Why is it being imposed now?
Monsieur Le Duc? Watch the glasses.
Mr. Mayor, members of Conseil, well, for one thing, if you're not connected to the network, you're not being charged anything regarding flat fees, regarding any sewer or water connection fees. So therefore, you've never contributed to any of the infrastructure setting in a township at all. So now, if you're asked to connect, then you're now become, like everybody else who joined, asked to contribute to the infrastructure costs that we had over time to implement the water and sewer services.
So essentially, homeowners who are not connected to the system never had to pay this upfront cost.
And never were required to pay in the past, but they're going to be required to pay now.
That's
if they
correct.
hook up.
Yeah, because they're essentially connecting to a system, and they're taking that growth component out of the system.
So my tax dollars are not paying anything toward that?
No. Water and sewer? No.
No, for growth, for wastewater treatment, for your lagoons, for your
That's solely
water
water and
treatment?
sewer. That's solely.
Nothing from I'm paying a fee for the water to pass my house even though I'm not connected to it. Is none of that being used for that?
Monsieur Le Duc?
Those are water and sewer fees, and they're specifically separate from the taxation budget, and they're the specific budget on their own. So therefore, anything that's related to those services are charged to those connected to the service
To the system.
and existing, yeah.
So my last question is, why would a street want to connect up? Why would a street want to pay $31,000 per resident and then have to pay on top? That's just for one service like sewer, and then pay another $4,000 for the development charge, when that's we're up to $35,000 already? That doesn't even include putting your lateral and stuff out. I could build a very nice septic system with secondary treatment for that price and carry on as I am and not have to pay these charges.
Thank you very much. Other questions, comments?
Thank you. Guy Como, 18 La Madeleine, and it's regarding the La Madeleine project. A few questions regarding the pumping station. It's been a sore point for a long time for us. Yes, maybe only half. Talked to different contractors, and some people say the depths and whatnot. It's all questionable. I'm not an engineer. I don't know anything about that. But then this really falls down to future growth. There's going to be money coming in from that, future development and whatnot. And I just don't think it's fair that we get saddled with any of that because it's being imposed by the township, by the engineers. La Madeleine Boulevard right now is low, correct. But La Belle and La Madeleine West were approved for development by the township, making us lower. So is it our fault that the other streets were built higher than us, and now we have to pay for that? I would think not. So you should please give that some serious consideration. And as far as the future growth goes, I know that there is a potential developer out there who's offered to pay for that pumping station 100%, providing he's allowed to open up some lots. And that was rejected, so.
I
that
think,
I'm sure-
let's be fair, a lot of developers would be willing to pay a lot of stuff if they were able to jump the line and control where the border goes.
Okay,
So I think,
okay, out of my hands, but I'm throwing it out there that we as the residents see somebody wanting to come and pay, and they say, no, we'll let the residents pay. No. Okay. Another thing is the engineering cost. There's still an engineering cost for this, for the septic system, for the septic line that's still in play here, some $76,000, I think. And of course, I'm not speaking for all residents, but I told them I'd be asking this question, is that I'd like to see that picked up by the township, the 100% of that engineering cost of the construction. Here again, the construction of the sewage line, yes, it's something that's demanded by us, but yet it's the engineering that all comes into play that back in the early 2000s when La Madeleine West was developed and La Belle was developed, why wasn't La Madeleine considered? I understand that the contractor put in a T at the corner of Saint-Jean-Baptiste in order to pick up future developments from La Madeleine, who is us, but yet nobody in the administration even picked up on, well, what can we do for future developments? To the point that one resident at 29 La Madeleine was invited to hook up to the septic line that was going by his house, going up to La Belle. So one resident of La Madeleine is hooked up for a price of $2,000. We're looking at $31,000. That hurts. One question I would have for possibly the infrastructure people is, what do they know about the future of private septic systems in the residential area, like where we live? I understand the South Nation Authority, the South Nation Conservation Authority is the ruler on septic systems, I believe. Is there something coming down the pipe that we don't know or that we haven't been told about the future of private septic systems in a residential area? I don't know. I'm just wondering.
honestly, I don't know either. I don't know if we have, in what context you're speaking of. It's just regulations and that kind of stuff?
Correct. Like, we are in a residential area surrounded in the community, and yet we've got septic fields.
Yep.
Is there something coming down the pipe from the Department of Environment or whoever about
Have we
the
been informed?
legality or the lifespan of these?
Have we been informed as to potential changes down the road?
No, it's only that we've seen the requirements for new septic being different. but
As compared to-
There's no regulation that's been brought forward so far.
Okay, so it just, I would assume that environmental standards have increased year over year as far
Exactly.
Okay.
as.
So,
Conseiller Lorrain, sorry, you have a question?
I do have a question, and it's based on a comment or a question that was just made. If the township goes back to the residents, which I believe because of the price difference, that we do have to go back to them and ask them if they're still willing to go on with the project. Am I correct in that there is still that requirement?
No.
That was not in the presentation if it was over 20%?
There's no requirement, but if that's council direction, we will go back and ask the resident.
Okay, was that in a slide that said you would go back if it was over the
Well,
20%?
we met them before meeting council.
Pardon me?
We made that meeting last week to inform the resident the price difference before meeting council.
And was it stated in there that you would be going back for the 65% to the residents?
Well,
At
we
that point,
went back to inform the resident, yes.
if I might interject.
Hold on,
I'm sorry.
please. I just want to make sure without that, what we said could be done or would be done is still going to be done, or if is it not going to be done. Was there a slide somewhere down the road in the last presentations that were there, that were given to the residents, that stated either we would, or we could, or they could request, if it's over 20% difference, that you're going to go back to vote?
not necessarily in the last presentation, take into account previous presentations from last year.
Right.
Or-
I would have to confirm that statement. I remember that we told them that we would go back to meet them, but as for the voting part, I would have to go back to my presentation to confirm.
I have the presentation here dated November 10th, 2016, and it says that the cost of construction may require a second pole. However, this will only be required if the actual tender bids exceed the estimated value from this presentation by 25%.
Okay.
The tenders came in at 68% over.
So in essence, I think that was the direction we were giving regardless of the presentation. I think that's important for the residents to have that option.
And I have one more question for Mr. Bourgon on this line of questioning. Regarding the engineering cost, should a vote happen and the residents decide not to proceed, who picks up the engineering cost?
Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon.
In this case, it will remain on finance and we'll have to finance it from the rates next year.
So existing water and sewer users?
That's
Or is
correct.
it taxation?
It would be the sewer rates.
It would be the sewer rates.
In this case, yes, not the taxation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just, since we're talking about this possibility of not moving forward, I just want to make sure that we understand the ramifications or the options here. So, if the residents of La Madeleine decided not to go ahead, we're still going to pave the road. And if they came back in 5 or 10 years and decided they wanted to move ahead at that time, then there's a new paved road, which would probably, I assume, wanted to be charged to this because it's not required at that point in time. Is there other considerations we have to think about as far as, besides the fact that there'll be a major increase in 5-10 years, I would assume, compared to today's rates as well?
I don't foresee any more things to add, beside the fact that, the paving would be charged 100% of that specific project.
Capital charges bylaw, maybe?
You're correct.
Wouldn't
If-
that be
if
another one
if
that would be?
If that bylaw pass, that's right.
So we got to make sure that we weigh the good and the bad here with this project, right? I know there's a huge increase, and for me, I think we're trying to see where that number is going to come in with and where we can massage. But if we do go back to a vote, if that's the direction of council, you have to be prepared as well to understand that there's additional costs that are going to come in the next time this happens, which
think
are going to
that's
be over and
understood.
above today's cost, on top of the increase in construction cost.
And this might be a significant amount of time as well.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's understood, and that's been pointed out to us before. But in closing, I just have one other comment, is that in 2007, when all this started, we were quoted a price by infrastructure at the time of $11,000. Then it was put to vote. You guys want to proceed? Of course. $11,000 was good. Then we're told there's no room in the lagoon for our 26 houses. And then we watched Melanie Construction pop up. We watched La Pointe Development pop up. There's lots of room for new developments to go into the lagoon, but not for the existing 26 houses on La Madeleine. That was a real kick in the gut for us. So then the project died, basically fell off the table for 6 years until we resurrected it and said, Council, what's going on with our project? They said, okay, we'll put it back on the table. They do this, and they come back to us in 2016 with an estimate now of $21,000. Now it's doubled. Not on our fault, but because it was dropped by council. This business of saying there's no room in the lagoon for your 26 houses, that was tough to swallow. Come on. And watch everything else going on. So we feel that we were really abandoned by the administration for those 8 years, and then for the project to get resurrected and told it's now doubled. Okay, well, that was pretty tough for us, but back then, and I'll tell you right now, that most of the residents wanted to go ahead. The vote supported it, even at 21,000. Now, last week, it comes in at 31,000. That's tough. So all that we're asking for, and I think, and maybe, at least what I'm asking for, is that council come back to the residents with a true price. I know we've kicked around, okay, take off the pumping station, take 100% of the pumping station, give that to the administration. The engineering cost, take that to the administration, and give the residents only the construction cost. That'll lower it quite a bit from 31,000 and make it a little more plausible. And that, to me, would show good faith on the part of council for the delays and everything that we have incurred, rising this to triple the amount. So give us the true figure that it's going to cost us, and give us another vote on it so that we know exactly what we're voting for. Because right now, it's a little too ambiguous to vote on, well, is it 31, or is it going to be adjusted? We don't know. And then give us another shot at it. I'm not telling you it's going to get voted down, but at least let the people know what they're looking at. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Monsieur Leduc?
I think there's some corrections in the statements of Mr. Como's regarding capacities back then. I think there's a Stantec report on file regarding collection systems. The issue was more of the collection system from the main street on Notre Dame and other areas where how would the sewage be collected from their area down to the lagoons. And the freeing up of the capacities came from us building the new Sainte-Marie project, partnering with a developer to create a pumping station number 8, which diverted a lot of flow from the main collection system down to secondary system. And this is why it freed up capacity, and this explains the delays, because this had to take a lot of time to be planned and constructed before things were freed up for La Madeleine residents to be able to direct our flow to the lagoons. So that's why I like to just correct that statement, because there was a study on file and also showing very clearly the areas that would need to be updated. And we're talking over $1 million worth of repairs on Main Street just to fix the collection system. So I just want to be...
So just so I understand properly, so if essentially the Sainte Marie project had not gone ahead and the pumping station had not diverted all that flow, they would still be in the same situation on La Madeleine Street?
Most likely, unless council have invested a lot of money to repair the Main Street and the collection system.
Thank you. Conseiller Lorrain?
One other question for, I guess, Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon. What is the, I'll use the word, drop-dead date for the awarding of the contract and the start of this project for implementation this year? Because obviously, we don't want to delay till next year again and have the prices skyrocket again, potentially, right? We don't want that to happen. So do we have a time frame that we need to work on so that council is at least aware that if we need to have another meeting, that we know what we're looking at?
Monsieur Bourgon?
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Based on discussion that we have with the contractor, we need to order the pumping station, and that's basically the critical timing here. If we wish to have the road paved by the end of October, we're looking at the deadline of early mid-July at the most, and that's pushing it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm Alex Kiskis. I'm a longtime resident of the Russell area. I've had the pleasure to teach some of your children, and I just want to say the patience of all the people here are sort of something that I've been putting up with since I've moved into Russell in '74. Back then, I was told that we would get water in 5 years on Trillium Crescent and Heritage area. And lo and behold, I'm still here. And the cost was only $17 a foot. It's a lot more than that now. So I just want to say, I've spoken about this before. We've had a vote done, and I think I'm going to be buried before you're going to get water on my street. However, I'm a little bit concerned about the costs. I've put in out of my own pocket over the years, probably $30,000 or more. And I'm having to redo wells and septic field, yada, yada, yada. And this goes on, and then you want to come back to me and say, hey, it's going to be another $31,000. I say, well, you just stay home. I don't need that kind of stuff. You know, it's either you are with the program or you're not. And we've been at this for quite a while. And I know a lot of residents may not want to because their lots are rather big, and I understand that, and the frontage. But when the price was reasonable, nothing was done. And it's, you know, something that a lot of us would have to think twice before we can unload that kind of cash out right away. So it's something I would like to see addressed, you know, one way or the other. We had a vote already, and I think the biggest mistake that was made when the slips went out to the people in the neighborhood, it was please check off what you want and return. but I think it should have read, if you don't return, we'll take it as a yes, that you do want the water, because you didn't get that many answers back for whatever reason, but you did get approximately 63 or 66% that wanted it, but nothing has gone ahead, and the price comes in again, you know, surprise, surprise, no, it's not, but anyway, it's things like that that I just find there's not a completion date on projects that have been there before. I look around me, I have 500 houses going in here, another 5 over here, another, and water and whatever. And I had to fight to get the darn road paved because we just had macadam on our street and dirt for longest time. And we finally got it paved, but everything is falling apart again. So anyway, time does go on, and as it goes on, it takes a lot of stuff with it. And I just wanted to express my concern that it would be nice to have, you know, the services that the rest of the village has. I can see the water tower from my house, and in the time I've spent living there, I could have dug a trench myself and hooked up. So anyway, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm Roger LaPlante from La Madeleine project. About the pump, where the pump's going to be installed there? Well, the sewage from La Belle, which is 4 feet higher than La Madeleine, and the other one that is on La Madeleine west of Saint-Jean-Baptiste is about 30 inches over our street. This would be hooked up to the pump. The same, the pump be there?
Moi, je suis pas un ingénieur. I can't tell you where the,
Well,
you know.
I'm asking, I'm addressing.
So exactly what is the question? You want to
Well,
know?
the question, are they going to be hooked up to the pump?
Monsieur Bourgon?
Les égouts existants ne seront pas branchés sur la station de pompage qui serait installée dans le parc.
Okay. So there's your answer. So the existing system is not being connected to the pump.
Okay. And the first week or second week of May, the house on the corner of Saint-Jean-Baptiste and La Madeleine got the sewer hooked up. It was done by Mr. Bertrand. I was there. The sewer was, the bottom of the sewer was 11 feet and a half deep. We were told that at the corner of, at the other end of the street there by Saint-Augustin, that the sewer was going to start at 6 feet deep. Then the engineer told me there was 3 feet of fall, that's the slope. So 6 feet and 3 feet is 9 feet, and the pipe is 11 feet and a half. Good question. The pump, is it for us or for somebody else, and we're paying for it?
I think that's been clear, but Monsieur Bourgon?
As we mentioned earlier tonight, the pumping station was required to service the residents of La Madeleine, but they are paying their share of units. The balance, like in this case, the 83%, is charged to growth.
Conseiller Lorrain?
So if at some point in time in the future, we decide, or whoever's sitting here at the time and whoever's sitting there at the time decide to oversize the services there or upgrade the services there for additional units, is there going to be a credit applied to the residents that paid that 17%? Because now that amount has changed? Or should that pumping station be paid for 100% by growth?
Monsieur Leduc?
I guess it would depend on how you qualify over the years, because right now the village boundaries are not ready to be expanded. We have over 22,000 housing capacities to be built before then, and over time you're looking at least, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years before this happens. So again, it all depends how your question is asked regarding the future.
At some point down the line, it's possible, but could be quite a ways away before that.
And that goes back to my comment of that the pumping station, in my opinion, could be funded at 100% growth. because we know it's gonna be expanded. We know that the water flow rates are gonna change. I've been here long enough to know that the calculations change, and for whatever reason, they keep changing for the better for growth. So to add additional capacities, and therefore, if we're putting the pumping station there, a large portion of why we're doing it, actually a significant amount of reason, is for that future growth, not just for this project. So I think at some point in time that we will expand that project, we will expand that pumping station, and therefore, you know, that's why I'm asking if there's gonna be a credit back, and I know I'm kind of being sarcastic with that, but I mean, it's $80,000 of this project that, in my opinion, should be charged to growth.
Monsieur Leduc?
All this work is being triggered by the La Madeleine request. If council chooses not to proceed, then we would not be installing this pumping station at this time, and not financing this over an X amount of years either. So if this doesn't go forward, we will not be going ahead with the construction of a pumping station in that area.
So we wouldn't be absorbing 83% of the cost? Okay. Monsieur Godin, is the option even available through the DCs? You mentioned earlier that, you know, it's the DC law is quite specific to the fact that there's 17% that has to be going towards the existing users. Is that even an option?
Mr. Mao. So, I mean, essentially, the law is clear that growth has to be financed by growth, and what's not growth isn't financed by growth. The interpretation of that and how we want to write it up is up to council, basically. We could say, sure, it's all growth. The risk is that we're going to be challenged at an OMB. In this case, it would be by developers because we're adding fees to their DCs, and I can't tell you what the OMBs would say, if they would take our side or if they would take the challenger's side. But essentially, I mean, when we do the background study for the DCs, we have master plans, we have growth management plans and stuff like that, on which we're supposed to base ourselves. And we've prepared a lot of those plans, so I think we're in a good position to be able to justify what's DC, what's growth, and what's not. This particular case here, if we were challenged, I think we would have a hard time. What's the risk? Are we going to have a slap on our hand? Maybe, I don't know. But I guess that's my point of view on that, is that I don't see it as growth, but if council wants to, if we want to identify it as growth, and like you said, there's justifications, we can say in the future it's going to go, we're going to expand or we're going to oversize pipes, and it might end up being growth. We could go down that road, and like I said, the risk is that we get challenged and that we lose the challenge.
So maybe it's not 100, maybe it's 95. You know what I mean? At least you can attribute a piece of it to existing, but knowing that there's going to be additional growth, right? Because it's all on forecasting of units, and we know that we're going to end up with more units in that pumping station at some point in time.
Monsieur Leduc?
So I understand that's doable, but what do you do to it next time we present another section that needs to be done? They come in and make same delegations, and now we're jumping numbers from 95 to 93, 84, 72. There's no justification for it. Right now, we're based on studies and justification of capacities. If we don't do that now, it means you're just opening the can of worms for the next projects come forward, and just ask and put pressure on council to remove their cost and share it to future growth. So I don't agree with that.
Okay, merci, Monsieur Leduc. And I think we have Monsieur Bourgon, correct me, the number of houses that are not connected to the system that have potential to connect to the system through similar local area improvements is in hundreds, and like 500, 600?
Yeah, it's a bit over 600 houses currently in the township of Russell.
Okay.
Hi.
Bonjour, madame.
Cheryl Como from La Madeleine. So, just talking about that, though, is like, this has been going on for 10 years plus, so, you know, you're talking about new versus, you know, the capacity and everything, but back then, when we were told, you know, it was going to be $11,000, we were prepared to do it. So I don't understand why, and the fact that all the houses around us have been built and we're now lower. See, that's where we're having a problem with paying that fee. We wouldn't have needed a pumping station, you know, had all that development not happened. And we would have gone through the project at the time when we were told that it was going to go through. So, and not only that, but back then, we were told that there was all kinds of grants available that the township would apply on our behalf and, you know, and that sort of thing. And then in 2016, we were told, no, there's no more grants anymore. So we're hearing always about infrastructure grants and about environmental grants, and I know that we were told that, you know, grants, and when you apply for them, they're very specific, and we all understand that. But I kind of, you know, when we were told 10 years ago that there was all kinds of grants for exactly what we're doing, and now we're told there's nothing, that we have to pay full cost plus $10,000 more than what we were told last year, it just, you know, it just doesn't make sense. And so we were mentioning at the meeting last week that if there are any grants now, you know, or even if we do agree and continue with this project, if there are any grants in the next few years, will it apply to us? Can we be credited for our portion? Because, and then our answer was probably for about a period of about 5 years. So I just wanted to confirm that if, you know, like, we want, don't get us wrong that we don't want this. We want this, but at what cost? So that's the whole thing right now. So people are having a hard time with the cost. So but you know, if there is potential for applying for grants, even in the next couple of years, if you're saying that in the next 5 years, yes, you know, if something does come up that you can apply on our behalf, that we get credit for it.
Thank you very much. Monsieur Leduc,
Well, the majority of grants we see coming by normally have eligible and ineligible costs. And normally, when costs are encountered before a certain date, they're not eligible for grants. It doesn't mean it doesn't. There could be none that are specific to that, but most of them coming out do have a start date and are excluding any of these costs prior to that start date, unfortunately.
yeah, I mean, if a grant did come along and we were able to apply, I would think that staff would jump at the chance to say, look, we have an opportunity here to apply for a grant going back to able to help. I've been here 8 years now. I've never seen a grant for this type of project. Monsieur Bourgon, have you? No, not either. So, Conseiller Laurent?
Yeah, I know years ago, and some of the residents in the room might remember this, but I think, you know, and you're going way back, but there were grants at one point in time up to 90% of the project. But those grants, you know, they're specific, and you have to take advantage of them then. And I think at that point in time, probably most people that were living there had just either put in their septic or had just connected in and didn't want to put out another cost. And now, unfortunately, those grants aren't there. I'm assuming we've exhausted all the potential grant applications for this project, if there were any.
Monsieur Bourgon?
Well, in the last couple of years, we've been looking at all the type of grants that's out there, and there was none that really applies for that specific type of project. Because obviously, we would have brought that forward to council to make the application.
Thank you very much. Bonjour.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Karine Boucher. I'm the owner of Russell Foodland. I wanted to change the subject a little bit and talk about 11Q, and was wanting some clarification on why my request to open on Sat holidays was denied. Just wanted some more info if possible.
Yeah. So essentially, the report came forward from the administration. They got a legal opinion. That being said, I think we've already indicated that we're not necessarily going to go with that recommendation. But there is a process we have to follow. The administration based their report on the information they had, and we'll move forward at the when we discuss that item separately.
Okay. Perfect.
Conseiller?
Sorry, I guess for those who don't come to meetings very often, is when we ask to pull it out, it's so that we can deal with it separately during the voting period, rather than it being with the the grouping of bylaws and resolutions, so that we can then make amendments to recommendations that are on there. So I hope you didn't get it confused when I asked to pull it out and make my comments
Yeah,
after.
I just wanted to know if there was
Wasn't, yeah, it wasn't because we were denying it, it's because we
Yeah,
want to talk
I
about
figured
it
that.
more.
I just wanted to know why it was actually denied in the first
Okay.
place, and just to. And
Perfect.
can I be informed of when it will be discussed next?
Yeah, right
Tonight.
now.
Tonight. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
great.
So stick around.
Okay. Other questions?
A little bit of a recap, if I could, on the Russell resident not having any services, whether water or sewer.
Just your name and your address,
Jim
please.
Thiele from 109 George Street, currently a pocket of Russell, and there are others that are not serviced municipally. You've touched on some of my points, but I just want to make it for my own understanding. It's more of a process question. Our area, for example, hasn't been serviced since the water went into Russell nor the sewer. The question did come up years and years ago, and I don't know if there was ever a vote held. Maybe there was, but those results would be expired, I'm sure, because what I'm asking for is, do you have a process that would, I guess I'll ask the first question, what would drive even the need? Is it somebody requesting it, or is it a municipal planning? Is it a forecasting of routing of water routing of sewer? I don't know. What's driving the question in the first place?
Normally, it's a request from residents. Correct me if I'm wrong, Monsieur Bourgon, Monsieur Leduc, but
Mr. Mayor, normally it is, but in this case, staff have received direction from council a few years back in assessing every pocket that are not being serviced at this present time.
Okay.
Because we do now have all capacity in water and sewage to service these pockets. Now it's a matter of ability and affordability of those projects. So we're starting with different projects. We start with those we had received previous requests.
Okay.
But yours, like yours, for example, could be assessed in a few months, a few years, depending on how fast we get to this project. But we have been given a mandate from council to look at all these pockets and see how individuals or homeowners can be added to the system.
Okay, so there's a standing offer basically on looking at this, it sounds like?
yeah, if for example, you and your neighbors decided you wanted it to look, further, jump the queue, if you will, you could put a petition or a request together, get some signatures of your neighbors, present it to council, and then council would, give direction to look at that area.
So let's assume we're not. In that, my concern is the cost in this particular area, and there are others. I'm not focusing on just my area, but there are other. With an area with a lot of cul-de-sacs, the pricing is often based on frontage. It can really run up quickly for the number of people in a certain area, just based on the construction cost. So in addition to that, we've just been talking tonight about an additional $8,500 that will be tacked on to that. So we have construction costs, or the service costs, the hookup costs, in addition to the surcharge. I think what we're hearing is a lot of discussion around the Emblem project. The vote would have to be put forward, but it'd have to be put on some real accurate numbers and not get surprises. Even 25% to me seems excessive, that leeway that was built into the contract already. You're going to go back to these people in Emblem and you're going to offer them a new number with that caveat that it could be to 25%. And as long as you're inside the 25%, those people could be tagged from $31,000 to $35,000 and still fall within that criteria. So I'm nervous about the process and what would drive the idea in the first place. So I'm appealing to you to, again, I wanted to understand what's driving the need, because nobody's asking the question that I'm aware of, other than the people are concerned somewhat about their septic systems as time goes on. For certainly some of these are reaching the
end of life.
Some point end of life. But honestly, I think it was mentioned earlier, I don't know what it costs for a new system, but if it's in that $30,000, $35,000 range, I can put a new system in and have no annual costs. So that I'm not going to have to write a check to the municipality for it. So it's a close decision, other than it may affect resale value. There are other things. So I'm just looking for process, how it works, and that's it. So.
No, I think we've addressed that. It's essentially, when we look at pocket areas, we inform the residents. In this case, the La Madeleine residents have been asking for quite a long time. We have other areas, there's also opportunities. I know, for example, St. Therese, when the developer was putting in a project, we were able to put the pipe. A lot of people jumped at the chance because then they were able to sever lots. Because they had services now, they were able to sever a
Yes,
lot and sell it. So everybody's case is different, but it's really a process where, like I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, this isn't a process where the municipality is making a profit. This is a case where we're putting it to the residents. These are the costs, and the residents make up the choice whether they want to participate or not.
So it leads me to my final point, is that do you have a set number of what would be considered
A go, no go,
a go, no-go vote?
which I believe for the local area improvement is 65%, 66%, so 2/3.
Okay, so 2/3, that's fine. And is there a set criteria for people who do not want to hook up? They choose, so they pay for the frontage, and it seems like the surcharge is going to be based on the connect, if I understand the language correctly in the bylaw that's tabled tonight. I think there was some debate about that, but I'll assume I read connect, but so I'll go with that.
Connection charge.
So if you don't connect, you don't pay the surcharge, and there will be no obviously, I would like to know, and I guess in the canvas to the question, it would have, people should be informed, in my opinion, is to do, here's what happens if it's a vote yes and you don't choose to connect, here's going to be your running cost. I think they need to be full disclosure on how this project's, and if that's done already, wonderful. I'm not hearing that totally here, so that's why I'm raising it.
So just to clarify, and so that I understand, and we'll try and make it as clear as possible. If 66% of the people want the project to go ahead and council gives the go-ahead, everybody will pay their share of the project. So even if they didn't want it, they'll be obligated to pay that portion.
Understand, we live in a democracy, that's okay.
Yeah.
So that part I understand, but I like the idea, I don't want any surprises. It's voted on, and 2 years later, the costs are markedly different than what as we're hearing now.
Yeah. So, Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon, something to add to that?
Yeah, well, there's two processes, Mr. Mayor. There's one local improvement area, which is 66%, and one is the Section 391 of the Municipal Act that allows you to proceed with the projects. And in this case, we've used the 50% mark to say who's going forward or not. So even though you vote against it, sometimes depending on the option which is being selected, you might be forced to connect or might be forced to pay the base fee without a connection. It depends.
So I'm not hearing 60, I'm not hearing 2/3 now.
2/3 on if it's a local improvement project. If it's through the municipal act, it's 50%.
So if the homeowners request it, under which clause are we under?
In this case, we're in the Section 391 of the Act, not the Local Improvement Act.
Okay. So in essence, technically 50% or 51% in this case, council would have the right to enforce it. Whether council goes ahead with that or not, well, that's another discussion.
Thanks for the clarity.
Not a problem.
I'm John Honaski, 14 La Madeleine. I know we went into different subjects here, but I'm here about La Madeleine and our project. First of all, I just want to say I'm really, really tired of this. Tired. 10 years, Mayor. And Jamie, I appreciate that question you said about the pump station and why we're paying 17%. And when I'm hearing the conversations with the engineers and with Township, you guys say that you're not here for profit. But yet, I listened to you guys talking in that previous conversation, and he's worried about the contractors, the developers, what they're going to say if we have to tell them they have to pay for it all. It feels to me this is not run by Township, by council. There's a lot of influence done by the developers, and you say you're nonprofit, but yet development I see goes out like this, and you fix everything as you expand. We're surrounded by new development, elevated, causing more problems on us, $10,000 on us. There's a lot of retiree people sitting and living in Embrun, and they want to retire, and then they got another mortgage to pay for, $30,000, which a lot of people can't afford. And then at what cost are we going to delay this from $11,000 up to $31,000, Mayor. That's a significant amount, and we're not even talking about hooking up. So we're gonna be easily saying it's gonna be $40,000 when $11,000. Two people, luck of the draw, down the street, saw the sewer going by and said, hey, can you hook up to me? Yeah, sure. I wish I was that guy. He won the lottery from what I can see. Like you guys should have assessed it. The council should have assessed it and said, you're part of this group, sir. You can't just
I
get
understand.
connect.
I understand, but I understand what happened 10, 15 years ago.
But you guys have to take accountability for that. You know, you guys are elected officials, you know.
We also have a responsibility to a whole township.
Okay, I gotta ask you a question. When we asked for it, and we could have got it for $11,000, we went through the process just like we are today.
Yep.
And we're very, very eager to get it, and we're still eager to get it, and we still want to have this infrastructure. We want to be abandoned and surrounded by all brand-new houses getting sewers, and we're still on septic, worry about a septic guy to come pick up and suck all that stuff out of our backyards. And we don't have full backyards because we have weeping tiles, and a lot of us want to expand and build a pool and do what like everybody around us wants to do when they want to develop and get a permit and build this and build that. We can't do that. You guys have a process. We came to you guys for $11,000. We went through the same thing that we're going through this year, which you expanded it by 10,000 because of costs, because of delays again. You guys have a process. 10 years when we had it for $11,000, where did that process happen? Where you stopped talking to us, you didn't let it go through, you delayed it. Did it go through a crack somewhere? Is there a bucket? Is there my work?
I can't
we have-
speak.
no,
I can't
Pierre,
speak.
This is very important because
No, sir.
I gotta know where you guys put that agenda for that project that we did.
And let me speak. Monsieur Leduc, you mentioned earlier that there was a report stating that they would not be, Stantec report that they were not able to connect back then because of not capacity in the lagoon issues, but just of flow and major upgrades that were needed. Is that correct?
Yeah, there were collection systems that needed to be oversized or beefed up because the pipes were too small to collect the volume that was supposed to come in. And so there were a few areas where it could not, the flow itself was too big for the capacity of the pipe.
Right.
So therefore, it could not proceed to bring sewage to the lagoons. And also I have to say that for the previous administrations, that $11,000 was never based on a tendered price, nor was it ever engineered fully regarding the actual design of pumps and stuff. So I know we're quoting that price, but back then we're also talking about preliminary discussions like we had with this group a year and a half ago. And once we do it to tender, the price could have been 15 or 16 if I don't know, I wasn't there, and we never went ahead with the tender price.
So it was a guesstimate back there. The flow capacity wasn't there. The only reason we have a major consideration why we have the capacity now is because of the development of the Ste. Marie project that is allowing for a lot of diversion of that sewage to essentially take that out of the pipe in that area. Is that correct?
Okay, so you guys had a pump system last year. It was capacity, we're gonna pay 33%, all the houses were 20, that 33% would have been 25 houses. So I asked the question not last meeting we had, but you remember that question. You said you were gonna note it down and find out what the capacity of that pump was. Simple math would say it was 85 houses. Now we're expanding again, we're making a bigger pump system, more capacity, probably over 200 houses from what I understand from the project manager last week. So we got bigger, and we're thinking about infrastructure and adding new houses and everything else too. My question, Pierre, is why are we always thinking about adding new infrastructure? And as we expanded that project, we had it at $11,000, even though, okay, there was problems and there was issues, so it was dead. And I'd like to know why didn't it resurface sooner, and why did we have to come back years later and bring this up again with you? We sparked it up again. You guys should be sparking it up with us and say, hey, we're ready. We should talk about this where I work, we have an exception registry. something doesn't happen, we have it on a registry, we go back to it, so it's never forgotten. I feel
think-
like it's been forgotten for a long time, and we have to resurface it, and we're paying the price, because as the years go by, the prices go up. Do you guys have a process where you revisit our request? And when Jamie mentioned about the cost of the pumping system, I asked that question about the 33%. Now we're up to 10% on a bigger system. We're not still saving money on that. We're
So-
always thinking about infrastructure, but do you have a process where you bring it up? Like, right now, let's say we vote and we don't get it, and we all go with something else. You gonna come back next week, next year, and say, hey, we got a better process, it's gonna be this and that, if we're gonna add this, expand La Madeleine even further down the street, we're gonna expand La Madeleine, we can now get you guys on that, hypothetically, I'm just saying, are you ever gonna come back, or do we always have to come back to you guys to ask for it? You're elected officials, you know what we want. We feel we've been totally neglected, ignored, and when you say you're not profit, I have to say this, you're collecting taxes on new houses, new property taxes on brand-new houses that are developing. As you increase the new development, you guys are getting substantially more of a budget, so you could do infrastructure and everything else. It's more of a pot for you to make Emblem grow and be what every family wants. Infrastructure,
Just so we're clear,
Yeah.
I understand we're collecting more taxes, but for every dollar of residential taxes we collect, we actually pay more in services.
okay,
You know,
why-
so for every dollar we collect, it's $1.08 or $1.10 or $1.15 in services. You know, really where we're trying to grow is commercial industrial, because they pay a higher tax level, and, you know, we generate more revenue from them with less expenses. So I understand, but for the commercial and the industrial to come, they want more of a population base. So it's a catch-22, unfortunately.
But Pierre, you know, like, everybody's gonna be paying a lot of money for this, and we all have to reassess it, and it's increased a lot, and we have to do another vote, but we all want this. But I have a big problem with this, and I have a big problem saying that you guys do not look out for the residential existing. You got 10 years of history here, guys. I'd like to see some accountability, and if it was the other councilors and other election officials that totally did all this too, can't keep going back and blaming everybody and saying, well, oh, it's them, it's not us now. And there's got to be accountability. We got 10 years of history showing as delays happen, and it's been happening, Pierre, because of what's
Yeah,
happened.
and there was delays last year as well. Correct.
And there's a delay again this year. Like, it keeps getting delayed. It's almost like I feel like you guys don't want us to have this. And
No, I
it's
don't.
like-
I think
Pierre,
that the administration has worked very hard on this file, and to say that
I know,
they
Pierre,
don't
but-
want it.
Pierre, but I feel 10 years of history of incompetence, and I have to say this, it was not planned very well. As you expand your infrastructure, you get existing and then you move out. You don't go around. And why are you guys going? That's my
But
question.
again, as
Why
it was mentioned earlier, it was offered years ago, and the people of La Madeleine did not want it. Before, we're talking about 2011, right? Like the gentleman in the back said, you know, in Russell, 44 years ago it was offered, and people didn't want it. You know,
That's Russell. We're
well-
talking about La Madeleine, guys. He's out in a rural area, guys.
Yeah.
We're a residential area.
No, not. He's across from St. Thomas.
Okay.
So, Monsieur Le Duc, a comment?
Mr. Mayor, I was going to say, I was hired back in July 2009, and I met with the Midland residents, I think, in the spring of 2010, and was there with Mr. Lawrence Ganger to tell residents that we did not have capacity back then. So I can't say that we stand here and no one's been informed of this decision. I was the one who said that back in 2010. I'll take accountability for that. And since then, I've been working hard, getting this administration and the growth sections to be able to provide services to that area. So, and the resolution we got back in 2014 was in fact to getting those pockets of unserviced areas to be serviced by the township. So I don't necessarily agree with the comments made earlier about us dropping the ball and falling through the cracks. I think the systems had limitations, and we had made the population informed of this, and I was there at that meeting.
Why does new development take precedence over existing? Why did you make that decision?
I'll mention it again. without the new development that just occurred, we wouldn't be able to service La Madeleine right now. It's all, you know, I know it's complicated. I know there's a lot of puzzle pieces here, but one of the major reasons we're able to go ahead and service La Madeleine right now is because the Sainte Marie project went ahead and freed up so much capacity in those pipes that's why we're able to. You know, if Sainte Marie had not gone ahead, chances are we wouldn't be in this situation having this conversation because the system wouldn't be able to take it. So I understand you're saying, you know, service existing without, you know, before you do growth. But in this case, if we had not done growth, we wouldn't be able to service existing. So sometimes growth goes ahead and helps to alleviate problems in the existing system.
But the elevation level that you guys surrounded us with is causing a lot of extra costs for us that you guys did in your planning. See, you're still not saying any accountability that, why didn't you thought of that, saying, oh yeah, we're gonna have to elevate, and we have to get a sub pump for La Madeleine? Too bad, La Madeleine, that's the way it is. Why did you guys?
I can't
go
answer
ahead-
that.
Yeah, that's exactly, Pierre. Like, there is no accountability, no one's admitting wrongdoing, there's bad planning here, and then you guys are just thinking about new development.
We're not.
I honestly
Okay, I'll
believe that.
repeat. If we were thinking of new development only, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I think the administration is.
10 years later trying to get our street to get done, Pierre. Our street hasn't been paved for 22 years.
And as I said earlier, we are going to pave the road.
22 years later, Pierre.
Do you know how many kilometers of roads we have in
How
the
many
municipality?
residential streets around us got
Okay,
paved
we're not.
sooner?
I'm not going to sit here and debate. It's a
I'm
question
not
period.
here
Do you
to
have a
see,
question?
you guys cannot take criticism. You won't take accountability. I feel like I'm talking to a wall. Like, you guys seriously have to get your stuff together, you know? Because we can't sit around and watch planning happen, and then we had a delay of, what's the delay for last year, and our price is going up 10,000 this year?
Monsieur Bourgon, can you answer me a question? Why did we not deal with this last year?
Yeah.
In order to complete the EA process, some resident asked us to come in front of council last spring, and by the time that we finished the EA process and complete the design afterwards, we were too late in the year. We couldn't proceed last year.
He told me it was weather last
So,
year.
so there was a
last
delay
week.
in
So it would have brought us in wintertime, so therefore we don't want to do that type of construction in winter, so we wait until.
So we had discussions last year, residents made requests last year, delayed our process, and we find ourselves now in the new year, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, merci. Conseiller Lorrain?
I'd just like to answer one thing that you mentioned about the paving. And I know since I've been on council, well, at least the last 8 years, I can tell you the reason why you haven't had your road paved. One of the major reasons is because of this project. Because it made absolutely no sense to pave the road and then break it up for the project and have to repave
The
it.
project was forgotten, and it's 10 years later, guys. You can't, like,
But
you
that-
guys forgot about
But
the
the request, when they came in, why
There's
would we go
gaps.
ahead and
It's
pave
10
it?
years later. It's not like every year you're gonna bring, oh yeah, we're gonna do it next year.
But
No,
would it-
it's 10 years,
But would it
guys.
have made sense in 2010 to pave your road, or 2011 to pave your road, only to then, in 2013 or 2014, when this first started to come back up, to break it up again?
Don't change words
Right?
around like 10 years ago. 10 years, it was okay. I'm talking about usage, and we're talking about why 22 years later, it's still, I saw new patches. I felt like it was Christmas, and you guys put asphalt in there again. Like, I see that every year, and it's really a bad street. But don't change words. 10 years ago, yeah, it was better. Every year, as years go by, everything erodes. We all know that. So that's besides the point. But the point is 10 years of trying to get our street done. And I still don't see it. And it's every year, it's harder and harder to do because the price goes up and we hear some new
Do you have a
bomb
question,
down.
sir?
That's all I have to say, Pierre. You know,
Thank you.
You guys have to get your things together.
Thank you. Last question. Question? Actual question? Okay.
I would like to, first of all, thank the fire department for the tremendous job they did on our street without a fire hydrant. And we're able to put the fire out on one of the houses down from me. And also just let you know, that a couple years before that, my neighbor beside me had 3 cars on fire. And thank God it was winter time so that it didn't spread. But anyway, I just wanted to thank the fire department on that note. I'll say good night.
Thank you very much. Bonjour, monsieur.
Fernand Bérubé. Fait plaisir de prendre le temps de vous demander une petite question, vite
Oui.
fait. La rue Héritage, ça fait depuis 78 je suis là, et puis j'ai pas aucun service. On a eu un rapport mentant qu'il y avait un certain estimé. L'estimé qu'on a eu, ça fait, je dirais, environ pas tout à fait 2 ans, je crois. Est-ce que cet estimé-là peut être revu, autant comme la rue La Madeleine et ce que j'entends, puis envoyé aux résidents, puis tel que vous avez demandé, peut-être faire certain que s'il n'y a pas de oui ou non, qu'est-ce que les résultats peuvent être.
OK.
Je sais que j'apprécierais bien, parce qu'il y a des gens, ce soir, j'ai appelé sur la rue Héritage, et puis tu n'es pas conscient que le projet va se faire. Alors, si vous pouvez...
Juste clarifier, la rue Héritage, monsieur Bourgon, c'est dans un plan futur, mais c'est pas immédiat.
Héritage, la rue Héritage à Embrun.
À Russell.
À Russell.
C'est ça.
Donc, il n'y a pas de plan mis sur place en ce moment-ci. Ce qui a été approuvé ce soir, c'est d'avoir un contrat avec Méline Construction pour la rue Church seulement. C'est ce qui était proposé là, ce soir.
Puis dans la filière, ça monte à des phases possibles.
Les phases futures possibles,
comme
oui.
j'ai vu, là.
Oui, mais il n'y a pas de plan comme c'est là d'aller de l'avance avec ces phases-là à ce point-ci.
D'accord. Mais d'abord, les estimés envoyés, c'est facteur 0 présentement, vu que il n'y a pas de... C'est parce qu'il n'y a absolument pas aucun... les montants sont fictifs, dans le fond, présentement.
Ben, on a vu, je pense, avec ça, comparé d'une année à l'autre avec
Comparé.
la Madeleine, là, M. Bourgon.
Monsieur le maire, donc effectivement, nos estimés qui ont été faits dans le Growth Management Plan qui a été présenté en février dernier devront être revus là, par la hausse de la construction là, qu'on a vu, là, qu'on vit présentement avec la rue de la Madeleine.
Oui, parce qu'essentiellement, en 2014, quand on était avec le Growth Management Plan, on a étudié toutes les régions où que possiblement avoir des services possibles, puis on a fait des estimés dans ce temps-là, mais oui, évidemment, ça va être obligé d'être révisé.
Parce que nous avons des, comme vous savez, à l'héritage, c'est des façades de 150 pieds. Et il y en a qui sont sur un coin, ça fait 300 quelques pieds
Oui.
de creux. Alors, c'est mes collègues, oui, justement.
Oui.
C'est très le terrain était rocheux de l'autre côté de l'héritage. Et puis, en tout cas, je vous remercie beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Bonne soirée.
Bonne soirée.
Une dernière question au sujet de la Madeleine. On question on process, what could we expect to happen now? Because I'm not familiar with municipal...
Well, I would, decision of council, but I would suggest that, the prices that have been presented in the report are up, we're going to have a further discussion as soon as we get to that report. And council will give direction, and that should give, if we give the direction as to what, council is willing to accept as Costco or what, for example's sake, whatever is in the report, the 31,000, if that's approved by council, then I would suggest, and if council agrees, that this goes back to the residents and the residents make the call. And at that point in time, then once you guys make the call, then we'll get a report back to council to say yay or nay, and we'll go from there. Like if the project goes ahead? Yeah, if council decides and agrees with the recommendation, for example, tonight, and that we give the go-ahead, then the only consideration I have is to make sure the residents are still on board, which should not take long, a week or two max. And then if the residents are still on board, then I don't think it needs to come back to council. We can just go ahead with the project and it'll be done this year. Is that correct, Monsieur Bourgon?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
So, yeah. D'autres questions, commentaires? Non? Parfait. Merci beaucoup, tout le monde. Move on to item 14, resolutions. Motion that council approve all recommendations listed on the agenda under item 11, reports from departments and council committees. And then we'll have to do an amendment to take out all those sections. So if, Monsieur Como, everybody for La Madeleine, we still have to vote on it. So I'm not sure if you guys want to stick around for the vote or not. Yeah. Just to make sure before the room gets emptied. Okay, so I need a mover and a seconder moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. And now we need the amendment to remove a lot. B, J, K, P, Q, and S. Was there anything else I missed? Okay, so I need a mover and a seconder for that amendment. Conseiller Lorrain, Councilleur Saucier. So all in favor except those items? All opposed? Carried. So now we'll go item by item. So item B was the Russell Transpo Public Transportation Contract. Need a mover and a seconder to put it on the table. Moved by Councilleur Saucier, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. To put it on the table? To put on the table. Questions, comments in regards to the Transpo? So I'll reread that council approves the report EcoDev 03-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and that council approves the recommendations under the subtitles Implementation of Express Bus and Changes of Services effective summer 8, 2018 included in Appendix D of this report, and that these be effective starting July 3rd, 2018. And that council approves the recommendations under subtitle Promotional Programs included in Appendix D of this report, and these be effective in August 2018. And the council approves the proposed bylaw to extend the contract for 1 year from July 1st, 2018 until June 30th, 2019, with 417 bus lines for 4 routes equivalent to 836 kilometers at a variable rate of $1 per liter at the following rate, $623,273.20. And that council approves the proposed bylaw to amend Schedule A7 transit fees of the user fees and charges bylaw 2017-099. Questions, members of council? Conseiller Lorrain.
I'd like to put an amendment to that, please. That adds, and council gives direction to staff to begin the process of going to tender or having the current contractor sharpen his pencil significantly. You don't have to write that in the in the actual recommendation, but
Okay, so
you
moved.
understand what I'm saying.
Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Saucier. All those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed? The amendment is carried.
Yep.
Yep. And now,
Just a comment.
question, oui.
Juste un commentaire que je crois que c'est de valeur qu'on va pas pour un 3 ans pour de la stabilité. C'est juste mon commentaire. Merci.
Okay, merci beaucoup. I'll ask for a recorded vote on the not the amendment, but as, on the resolution itself. So, any other questions, comments?
I think I've made all my comments already.
Yep. Okay. So, all those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. Carried. The next one was J. Capital Charges Bylaw Report FS 22-2018. The council receives report FS 22-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and the proposed bylaw be adopted as presented, imposing capital charge on private wastewater and water system conversions to the municipal wastewater system or water system or both. This is the resolution itself. The bylaw will be separate. So questions or put on the table. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Saucier. Questions, comments on the resolution? Conseiller Lorrain.
Can we make sure to pull this one out in the bylaws as well, so that we can request that it only be read in its first time? So I'm okay to pass the resolution as long as the bylaw is only in its first reading.
Yep. Okay.
Because there obviously has to be additional review done.
Okay. T'as-tu besoin d'un secondaire pour ça, Madame Camille Laflamme? At that time. Okay. So any other questions or comments? Councillor Saucier?
And I just wanted to clarify that, you know, because of the wording, like asked to connect and whether the 66% or 2/3 could opt against it. Then, you know, then section 391 was quoted of the act that they could be enforced. So I know a lot of people had that question, and so I wanted to make sure that was clarified. And, yeah.
Just to make sure as well, I think I mentioned it earlier, but this is a general charges bylaw for the whole municipality. And when we get into specific areas, La Madeleine, Heritage, that kind of stuff, that's when discussions can happen on that local improvement area or the section 391 of the act. Is that correct, Mr. Godin?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. So I don't know that it's necessary to identify here anything about the 66% or the 50%, because basically what this is there's going to be that fee if you connect. So it's once you connect that there's a fee.
Yeah.
The 50% or 66% is going to go through the local improvement or the municipal act charges.
So there's only the fee if you connect.
Exactly, yeah.
We'll clarify that
Yeah,
at the
that's what I
second
wanna make
reading.
sure.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Other questions or comments? All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. The next one is for item K, I believe. C'est ça? Awarding of the 3-year contract for our yearly financial auditing service report FS 23-2018. Moved and seconded by Conseiller Lorrain, moved, seconded by Conseiller Associé. All those questions, comments? All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried, approved. Now we go to item P. Signed bylaw amendment that council receives PIC 18/2018 dated June 18th. And the recommended in this report denies the request made by Mr. Armstrong to amend signed bylaw 2016-052, which regulates election signs on township properties. Need a mover and a seconder? Moved by Conseiller Brisson, seconded by Conseiller Associé. Questions, comments? Conseiller Lorrain.
I asked to remove it for a couple of reasons, or for one reason, and then during the question period, another question came up or concern came up with it. So I just want to clarify something that was said during the question period in terms of an election campaign and signs. And I just want to clarify with Madame Camere, Madame Bordeaux. I didn't say Bourgon. Is that the period for thank you. Her head's in the way, I can't see. I haven't been here long enough to know you. That the time period we're talking about to put up signs in the first place is 30 days before the election. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay, so no one can start putting up signs as soon as they put their name in, anything like that?
No.
Okay. So that's the first one. And then during that conversation, I think the mayor mentioned that the counties are about to pass a bylaw that would restrict signs up and down
On the county roads
county
within
roads.
Russell Township.
So anywhere where those signs were put up for the provincial elections last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, cannot be put up during the municipal election. Is that?
Yes.
If that passes, is that my
That's correct.
understanding?
Yes.
Okay. So then we're really talking private locations for signs, limiting the candidates in terms of where they can have their signs and be visible. And it pains me to say this, but for additional people who are new to the process and new to putting in their name, if they don't know that many people aren't going to be able to put their signs out anywhere that they've in previous elections they've been able to, other than on private residence. Is that accurate?
Yeah, private residence. If they want to sign on a private residence, then they'll have to take the time to go speak to that person and ask permission.
Okay. And then secondly, on this specific item, if an exemption would be granted, would it be granted to the individual or would it be granted to everybody who would want to be participating in a municipal election.
It's a written permission, so it would be from the person they're asking for. If you're gonna grant a permission to everybody, then we fall back to what we were before.
You're changing the bylaw essentially.
But to amend the bylaw wouldn't be specific to one person, it would be open to everybody
But the
versus
section-
a individual request that was made. Right?
The section here that was referred to is, do you want me to read it?
Wait, say,
Despite any other provisions of this bylaw, the following signs are permitted on or over township of Russell property, including road allowances and municipal properties with express written permission of the township of Russell.
Right. So where I'm going with this is, one candidate has asked the department for an exemption to the bylaw. You brought it to council as a signed bylaw amendment. If council decides to disagree with your recommendation and say, no, we think that they should be allowed to do it, is it for one person, or are we amending the bylaw to allow everybody to do it?
Well, the way it was intended, it was for one person.
So we would put in the bylaw that Mr. Armstrong would be the only person allowed
Well, we
to,
wouldn't put it in the bylaw, it would be a written permission. So it's a bylaw permitting Mr. Armstrong to put signs on the
Okay.
property.
so obviously we can't prejudice one person over everybody else who's running with that type of an exemption. Correct? I mean, you just can't do it. So, I don't know how we deal with this, because I'm in agreement that one person can't be granted the request. However, I still object to the fact that we can't do it in the first place, because I think not allowing it prejudices people who want to put their signs out and who may not be as known as everybody else. So I don't know what we need to do to fix that, and maybe I'll take that back for something during the summer and come back with a notice of motion or something. But in terms of this request itself, I can't, the way it's written, I can't sit here and disagree with your recommendation, because I can't give one person the ability to put signs out where everybody else would not have the same ability unless they asked. Well, that makes no sense. To me, that's not a democratic process.
okay.
So,
Any other questions or comments? Quelque chose d'autre à ajouter de l'administration? No. Okay, so we have the resolution in front of us. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item Q, Retail Business Holiday Act. The council receives report PIC 19-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and as recommended in this report, denies the request made by Russell Foodland to amend the Retail Holiday Act to remain open on statutory and civic holidays. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Associé. Questions, comments, amendments? Conseiller Lorrain.
amendments. I'm going to request an amendment that says we proceed with the public meetings as per the act to allow for opening on statutory holidays as requested by Madame Boucher.
Okay. So, Madame Camille-Laflamme, comment tu veux le worder, ça, exactement? That council receives report PIC 19-2018 dated June 18, 2018, and declines the recommendation in this report and move forward with a public meeting.
And disagrees with the recommendation?
Comment? Ou est-ce qu'on peut-tu juste voter contre ça puis donner une direction que... Yeah, okay. So we'll just... Oui. So we can just vote against this and give direction to the staff to move forward with the public meeting, with the process.
You can keep the first part and strike out the
Receipt,
last
why?
part. Can change it.
Okay, so we could say that council receives report PIC 19/2018 dated June 18, 2018, and directs staff to move forward with a public meeting, or forward with the public process. Monsieur Leduc?
I guess I would be with the understanding that council is ready to go there, has a majority.
If
At this
we
point,
amend it.
you've not committed to that. So the way you've worded it, is you already took that decision, so.
Right.
So now either you vote against or for it, and then give direction afterwards, I think.
So, well, if it's voted on, if that amendment is proposed, then, and council accepts that amendment, then essentially it's giving direction on that.
On pourra pas en parler direct.
Right. So, this is on the floor right now. So Councillor Lorrain's proposed an amendment.
I asked for an amendment so that we move forward with allowing businesses to open on holidays. So I understand we received a report that says the recommendation is we don't allow it. I thought we'd already given direction to move forward with the public meetings and start the process. And I guess I was confused because that's what I thought we had given direction for. So I want to make sure that we move forward with this, if that's what the will of council.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm proposing the amendment, so that we have the public meeting and we go.
Before the amendment, I would like to talk.
Has to get up, put on the table first.
First, the amendment has to be put on the table first.
I will move it.
Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Associé. Now you can ask a question.
Je comprends que la dernière fois, on l'avait amené dire, OK, on va avoir des questions publiques, mais avec le rapport qu'on a eu légal sur la loi dedans qui disait que c'était pour ouverture quand c'est une chose touristique, puis on ne peut pas justifier qu'il y a 50% de touristique. C'est pourquoi que là, on continue quand que la loi dit que c'est pour les choses touristiques. C'est ça mon point de vue était de... Je comprends très bien qu'avant ça, il fallait la chose. Puis que là, on a cette chose-là juridique de dire, ça fait que c'est pour ça que...
Oui. Pour moi, in my opinion, the act was written in 1990. There was no even internet shopping back then. We know that a large portion of retail sales now is exactly through that, and it's growing leaps and bounds. And if we can't make a decision to help our local businesses, it's a little bit of an edge, if you will. I mean, the reality is, if I'm sitting at home and I want to do shopping and the store's not open, either I'm going online or I'm going to find a store that is open. And I think as well is the act tweaked that way that, yes, we have the ability to, if we go that route. I don't know if somebody will challenge us or not, quite possibly, but I'm willing to go that route myself. And the fact is that we're giving the option to the businesses. If a business chooses not to open on that holiday, then they don't have to. Nobody's forcing them to. But if one store decides to and somebody else doesn't, that's their choice. But I think giving the opportunity to our local businesses to being able to open, because, like I said, in 1990, times were different. It's, provincially they should be updating the act, but they haven't done so. So in my opinion, that's why I support the public process. Conseiller Lorrain?
And who's to say that, right now, if something's not open on a holiday here, but it's open in a certain pocket of Ottawa or in North Dundas, that right now our residents are going to go there, right? We talk about shopping locally, we're not shopping locally. However, on the flip side, what if somebody from Metcalfe, somebody from Osgood, Canada, wherever, that they can't get to the places that are open in Ottawa, and they come through our area, and they see the sports dome, they see other things that we have going on in the municipality, the splash pad in Embrun, the fact that there's development all over the place. That's not tourism? Of course it is. They're going to come through, they're going to see it. They're going to see that the fair's on. They're going to see that the Embrun Carnival's going on. I think absolutely we should be recommending this, and in fact, I'm surprised it's taking this long. So I truly think that this is something that's gonna benefit our community, and I'm 150% in favor of doing this, so.
Merci. Monsieur Leduc.
So, Madam Conseil, normally when we go to consult the public, we go with some documentation. At this point in time, we had not prepared a bylaw regarding the opening, as we went with the legal opinion. Now, I think the direction should be for us to draft a revised bylaw, present it to you, and then proceed with public consultation. Because if you're going to do public consultation process without anything specific, what do you tell people? Council is thinking of this. Council is thinking of it. Thinking is one thing, but having a bylaw to debate, to review, and I think that's where we should be going first, and then present to you back in August, and then follow the process of consultation.
Mike. Conseiller Lorrain.
If we're gonna come back with a bylaw, can I request that it comes back at the next council meeting, whether it's a special council meeting or not?
July 5th, Madame Bordeaux.
I'd like to get it started sooner than later, so at least we can hit the end of the year, and before the end of the year, that we can have stores open, if they're allowed, if they're able.
Councillor Saucier.
So we have to go to public process?
We have to go through
Yeah.
the public process,
Okay.
yes.
All right,
Or-
and was it that Christmas Day wasn't included in that?
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's something council can decide on, which exact
Yeah.
days, but Madame Bordeaux,
Okay. I see.
t'as-tu quelque chose à ajouter for the public process?
I'm not 100% sure it has to happen. I'd have to, because it's recommended, but I haven't seen anywhere where it says it has to happen.
Okay. Conseiller Lorrain.
Can we get a bylaw at the July 5th meeting with a recommendation at that point in time that whether or not we have to go? Because if not, I would love to approve that evening so that we can hit the August.
So if you don't have to, you don't want to have a public?
Moi, oui.
Oh, how
Because-
many people want the public meeting? I'm fine without the public meeting.
So am I.
Moi, j'en voudrais.
Okay, well, 3-1, majority wins on that one.
C'est juste que
Conseiller.
je trouve ça juste désolant quand même, quand il y aurait juste des stats holidays, que, OK, je sais qu'il donne le choix au monde de travailler ou pas, mais quand tu n'es pas capable de fermer juste aux stats holidays dans notre région, je crois qu'on s'en vient, c'est un problème. Que c'est respecter le monde, les employés, de pouvoir prendre leurs stats holidays en même temps. Fait que-
Ben, je pense que
Comment
c'est
force,
clair. Il n'y a personne qui force le magasin à ouvrir. Si le business ne veut pas ouvrir, c'est leur choix. So, Monsieur Leduc,
Mrs. Bordeaux, have we received Mrs. Boucher's official request yet regarding the days?
I think that's how it became, how the conversation started a couple meetings ago.
Well, when the delegation was made, you asked Mrs. Boucher to provide us with the specific dates. And the reason of my request is that, is council basing now this new bylaw strictly on Mrs. Boucher's request, or are you considering more businesses' requests? Because now we need to know on what basis you'd like to bring the bylaw. I mean, based on those requests only, or you're willing to open it to every statutory holidays? Because we have not that direction from you guys regarding that.
I'll give my 2 cents worth. As someone who was in business, in small retail business for years and years and years, I was open 365 days of the year, you know? And if I always, personally, I told my staff if they didn't want to work on Christmas Day, then they didn't have to work on Christmas Day. And if I wasn't willing to work it, then I would just close it. But that was a discussion between staff and ownership of the business. I mean, I can't believe in 2018 that we're telling businesses, they're not allowed to open on a certain day when the internet is open 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. I mean, that's the reality. I understand people aren't necessarily happy that, a store might be open on a certain day. But they don't have to go shop there if they don't want to. And if people don't go shop, then the business won't open on that day because they'll say it's not worth my while paying extra to my staff to open because there's no business. I think it's up to the market to decide. For me personally, 365 days a year. If a business chooses to open, that's your choice. Conseiller Lorrain?
The only day that I would suggest not having included is Christmas Day. I'm fine with every other day of the year. Christmas to me is the one day that I think makes sense not to be open from a retail perspective. I mean, you're not gonna get much traffic anyway, in my opinion, so may as well put it in, but
I can tell you staff, in my case, were ecstatic to work Christmas Day because they were getting like double time and a half.
true. But that's just my opinion.
Yep,
so.
no, that's fine. I'm fine with that as well. Councillor Associate?
Well, as a huge advocate of shopping locally, I think we need to do everything we can to help our businesses. So, and again, we're not forcing businesses to do this, so it's going to be their choice. And if they, I'll use Shoppers Drug Mart as an example, they're open almost every day of the year. So they're getting business when another pharmacy may be closed. So I would support that. And I agree with Councillor Rand about Christmas Day. I would add Family Day, but big on family.
But
Conseiller Brisson?
I would have liked at least to have a consultation, that to know if it was only one store or if it was some other that wanted it. But
No,
that's my
I
point.
think that the market will dictate whether a store will be open or not. It's up to, it's up to the public who decide to shop there, whether that store wants to be open or not, so.
Because I did receive some call that people were completely against, but that's
Well,
my.
and they don't have to go shop there, or if it's a business owner, they don't have to open. I mean, we're giving the choice to business owners and to local residents. If you don't want to shop, you don't shop. If you don't want to open,
But-
you don't open.
But then we'll.
Not at this point.
But then it's just to make sure for the law that we're really in laws for doing it too.
Well, I guess that'll be, we'll find out the hard way if somebody decides to challenge it or not. So,
I can verify tomorrow, make sure that we follow the right process.
okay.
And I will advise council of
Okay, so at this point in time, what's the direction we're doing? We're voting against this and asking, and
I thought we were voting for the amendments.
Monsieur Leduc, I just want to clarify.
I think you should be voting to amend the report to say that the council received this report and gives further direction to prepare a draft bylaw for next council meeting.
Okay, we're good with that?
With the exclusion of
Okay,
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day, that's correct.
Okay, so with the exclusion of Christmas Day. So need a mover and a seconder for that amendment. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Saucier. All those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed? The amendment is carried. Now we approve as amended. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried.
Registered vote, please.
Registered vote, so all those in favor? Registered vote's been called.
Yeah. However, procedurally, I'd like to answer this question procedurally because it's happened a couple times now.
Yes.
Can you ask for a registered vote
In-
after the vote has already
That's
happened?
what I was
Yes.
told.
Immediately after, you can ask. Yeah, if, you can't do it 2-3 votes down the road, but immediately after, we're fine. So, registered vote, all those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Okay, next item. Item S. Construction of sanitary sewer on La Madeleine Street Report ISWW 02-2018. That council approved the proposed bylaw to award a contract and to authorize the entry into an agreement with Robert Excavation for the construction of the sanitary sewer on La Madeleine Street for $1,153,273.80 plus $20,297.62, equaling $1,173,571.42. This amount includes 1.76% of non-refundable municipal HST, and that council approves to increase the budget to $1,485,253 to include all engineering costs, construction costs, and a 10% contingency. And that council approves to limit to 10% the contingency charged to the homeowners, and approves that the private wastewater and water system conversion capital charges bylaw does not apply to this project, which technically is not even in effect yet. And that the project be financed by a loan and paid as per distribution set in Appendix E. that the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the agreement. Need a mover and a seconder to put it on the table. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Associé. Questions, comments? Conseiller Lorrain.
We talked a lot about this already, and for me, I think one of the things that we have to take into consideration is the additional cost that it's gonna cost if we delay this project any further. I think everyone who lives there can attest to that fact. We've talked about it. There's been delays. You know, if we delay it, the paving now goes 100% to the project, and the future charges bylaw, capital charges bylaw will then come into effect for that project, as that will now be a new project on a going forward basis. So I think we have to be real careful when we talk about this project going forward. And that the residents, if and when they vote on this one more time, take that into consideration. Because I don't want to hit you with another fee 5 years down the road that's even more exorbitant, because it will be a lot more expensive, and we know that already. My recommendation, and I'll put an amendment on the table, that the amount for engineering gets covered by, I guess it would be out of wastewater services or whatnot. I don't know if there's an asset reserve or something that we could tap into, or something to that effect. At least cover off the 76,000 of engineering. I still believe that we could go down on that 17% number. Administration at this point is saying, no, we can't, that number is fixed. And I don't know what we can do with interest charges that's being requested. Those are pretty standard. I mean, I don't know what we can do, anything like that. So I guess with the requests that we've seen, I mean, the one item would be the 76,000 of engineering, and the 79,000 of growth. I don't know how we would touch that one if administration is telling us we can't reduce that amount. So I'm going to put a recommendation on the table, or an amendment on the table, that we cover off the 76,000 for engineering, and that we put it back to the residents, put their final cost to them, get the next vote, and move forward before the contract expires. Or the offer expires, I should say.
Okay.
That's my.
So, okay. So just to be clear, the $76,000 be absorbed by the township share, essentially.
Correct.
As opposed to the owner share.
Correct.
The almost $77,000.
We have to eat it anyway if they cancel the project.
Yep.
So
that's, and then the other items, well, there's no recommendation on those.
I don't see how we can.
Yep.
Tonight. There's nothing there.
So I have a mover for the amendment by Councillor Lorrain that the close to $77,000 engineering fee of 100% be transferred to the township share of the project. So a move by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Saucier.
So, quick question though.
Yes.
If we approve this tonight, it's a resolution and a bylaw, or just a resolution? So the resolution and the bylaw, how do we give direction to go back and do that if we've already said yes? Do we have to put an amendment on there that says, and we give direction to go back and get consensus again?
I think it should.
Because that's also part of the recommendation, the amendment then, right?
Maybe it should be, and that the council report back, or that the administration report back to council if a no vote majority is received by residents.
Okay.
That way, it would allow the project
To go through
to
if they
go
say
through.
yes.
If they say yes, there's no delay in that way.
Okay.
And if they say no, then it'll come back to council. So, Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon, is that option feasible?
Could you please resume the?
Okay, so the $76,000 share be transferred to township, and that
For engineering.
and that in the event of a no vote majority by La Madeleine residents, then this would come back to council.
when we say no vote majority, are we talking 66% or are we talking 50%? Because is this an actual local improvement or is this a
Three. None. Monsieur Leduc?
What if they say no?
If they say no, yep, pave the road and,
So the issue is kind of, like, you vote for it, and if they say no, it doesn't come back. The way you worded it is that you mean you're now throwing a public negotiations out there to say they vote no, come back, and I will throw in something else.
No.
That's why I'm asking the question.
No, from my point of view, I think Monsieur Lorrain, we're on the same page with this, is that it's if it goes back to the residents and it becomes a no vote, then the project dies, we pave the road, and that's it, that's all. There's no more negotiations here. This is the direction we're going. We're giving the $76,000,
When then you would just amend it to say, we'll take on a 76% conditional to a majority of whatever percentage you decide to ask for. Because this is a 391 section, there's no specific amount of percentage, so you can say 50 plus 1, or you can
we
choose
gotta
whatever
decide
percentage
on
you
that.
want.
Can you?
I think it has to be 60%.
60%?
I think it has to be a 60% vote. I don't know, that's my opinion. I don't think we can go 50, I don't think we can go 50.1.
I'm fine with 60, if we hit 59, then we might hear about it. If we hit 61, we might hear about it, but that's the reality of the project, right?
We gotta pick a number.
Yep,
right?
no.
I mean, I think 50 is a little too low, and I think 66 may be a little bit too high. Let's just cut it in the middle, go 60%, and
Okay, so we'll make a recommendation that, how do you want to word this? With a,
That the sewer engineering owner share of $76,000 be now transferred to the township share, conditional to an acceptance of the project by
60%
Yeah.
of the residents. Okay, so that's moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Associé. Questions on that portion? No? All those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed? The amendment is carried. So now we vote on the resolution itself as amended.
unless there's additional amendments.
Additional amendments? No, I think we covered off pretty much. So all those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. So S is done. I think that's the last separate one. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I know it was a long night, but I appreciate you guys sticking around. Okay, là. Resolutions, you fini. Now we go on to bylaws. Madame Camille-Laflamme, can you remind me which one we pulled out?
Did you want to add this one also, or
Huh?
did you want to add this one or not, La Madeleine, to be removed?
Non. Non, ça peut faire partie de
So
tout
then
le-
it will be 2018-082 for report FS 22 for the capital
Okay.
wastewater.
That's the only one. Ah, puis celui pour qui a déclaré conflit, c'était le numéro K, là, c'était pour le contrat.
Was there a bylaw?
Puis y avait-tu un bailleur pour ça?
Doesn't look like it.
BDO, oui, 83.
Okay.
2018-83. Okay, so we'll put a motion that council approves bylaw 2018-76 to 2018-87 inclusively for first, second, and third reading as listed on the agenda. So I need a mover and a seconder to put it on the table.
That excludes that exclude?
The capital charges
Yeah,
water?
I
Yes.
took that out.
Well, we got to put it on the table and then we pull the two out. So I
on the
need a
table.
mover and a seconder. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. So I believe we want to take out 2018-082 and 083. So that's the contract for the BDO and the bylaw for the capital charges. Okay. Was there anything else we wanted to remove? I don't think so.
The bus line agreement? Did we have to do anything with that?
No.
Because we did it in the resolution, we don't need to do it in the bylaw.
C'est ça. Okay. I think it's just those two. Faut-tu... pour la Madeleine, pour le bylaw comme tel, là, y a-tu des changements à faire au bylaw comme tel? Non, parce que,
Le bylaw était seulement pour la partie du contrat tel quel.
pour aller de l'avance. Puis ça, c'est à l'interne comment on va absorber les coûts. Monsieur Leduc?
La seule problématique à ce moment-ci du règlement, ça serait que, advenant un vote non, et puis tu as voté un donné de contrat, tu peux avoir une demande de perte de profit.
So,
Je
on peut...
recommanderais de ne pas adopter le règlement ce soir, au moins que c'est le 5 juillet qu'on fasse ça, là, mais
Let's take it out then.
Ça, où j'allais dire, on peut-tu mettre une clause dedans pour sortir du contrat s'il faut? Parce que, on ne peut pas négocier avec la compagnie avant qu'on ait un contrat en place, c'est ça?
sauf que cet amendement-là au contrat se fait en deux parties, nous autres et Robert X.
Oui.
S'il n'est pas au courant de ce changement-là, vous pouvez bien prendre cette position-là, mais s'il n'est pas d'accord, vous faites quoi?
S'il ne veut pas le signer.
C'est ça, exactement.
Well, it doesn't mean we have to sign it tomorrow if we approve it tonight, right?
I
We can wait
understand,
till-
but if he declines wanting to add that clause into his contract, what do you do?
To add what clause?
The clause that says, if La Madeleine comes back, like right now, we're signing a contract to go ahead with this project. I wanted to
Right.
put the clause stating that an opt-out clause if the residents say no. Because for,
But aren't we just saying we're giving approval to sign the contract? It doesn't say you have to sign it tomorrow. You
No.
sign it July 6th.
right, but the only issue is that for Monsieur Bourgon, in regards to negotiating some items in the contract, he needs a signed contract to be able to negotiate that stuff. Is that correct, Monsieur Bourgon, or waiting till the 6th is
What
fine?
else are we negotiating?
Well, the negotiation part would have been for the amount that we could reduce further, but it's timing issues as well by the vote.
Right. I'm just suggesting that we put a clause in there stating that, based on the vote, that the contract might not, like a null and void if the contract comes back at, below the 60% range. At least that way you can move forward with starting to negotiate some stuff, and it doesn't have to come back to council if it's a yes vote. Monsieur Leduc?
Then in this case, the bylaw needs to be amended.
So we'll amend the bylaw to add a clause
Because
for,
the bylaw is our own document,
right,
so our document has to be very clear as to what
Okay.
does it mean.
so
The
let's
bylaw
pull,
needs to be changed.
So we'll pull that one out.
pull that one out as well. So, okay. Right, 82, 83, 84. Okay. So I need an amendment to pull out 82, 83, 84. Moved by Councillor Saucier, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. All those in favor of removing those and voting separately? Okay. So là, motion that council approve bylaws 2018-76 to 2018-87 inclusively for first, second, and third reading as listed on the agenda, except for items 2018-82, 2018-83, 2018-84. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. So now we'll start off with 2018-82. I need a mover and a seconder to put it on the table. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, second by Conseiller Brisson. Questions, comments for item 2018-82? This is J, yes.
Well, yeah, well, I want to make it only one reading, right?
So,
So I need to make an amendment?
yes.
Can I make an amendment that we only pass first reading tonight and not second and third, and we bring that back at the August meeting?
Okay. So we have amendment moved by Councillor Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Saucier. Everybody okay with the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment? Okay, so this item is just being read for a first reading this evening. So all those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 83, the agreement with BDO. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Saucier. Questions, comments? None? All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. 2018-84, being a bylaw to award a contract to authorize the entry into an agreement with Robert Excavating, Inc. for the construction of sanitary sewer on La Madeleine Street. Need a mover and a seconder to put on the table. Moved by Conseiller Brisson, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. Questions, comments, amendments? This is for the La Madeleine project. So, Monsieur Leduc had a suggestion.
That the mayor and the clerk only sign whenever something about that nature.
Là, ça donne-tu de la misère pour essayer de négocier des choses, M. Bourgon?
On va au moins essayer de mettre une figure dans le fond, le plus conservateur possible de l'économie, au moins capable de présenter aux résidents, pour voir s'ils acceptent ces conditions-là, puis en ajoutant ce que le conseil a approuvé ce soir. Fait que je pense qu'en ajoutant cette condition-là, ça devrait nous donner assez de flexibilité, de pouvoir rencontrer les résidents avant de faire la signature officielle du contrat.
OK. So, est-ce que tu préfères qu'on attende au 5 pour le signer, celle-là? Parce qu'on pourrait juste faire un first reading, ou tu veux l'avoir à fait avant ça? First reading ce soir? OK. So, we'll just do amendment to do the first reading this evening. Conseiller Lorrain, conseiller associé, all those in favor? All those opposed? And approve as amended, essentially just the first reading. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item B. C'est ça? Je suis perdu?
Yes, no. So, Mr. Mayor, we had that clause kept in just to talk about the,
Yes.
because Councillor Samar will be leaving the vacant seat, so
Okay.
we'll have to replace her on 4 committees.
Okay.
So we don't have anything tonight because
She hasn't technically been,
she didn't resign and it's not in the Ontario Gazette yet, so we can go forward
so we'll bring back on the 5th when we do,
if council is in agreement, yes. that's
we're
what
okay
we
with the
can
5th?
do.
We're here anyways. Okay. Okay, c'est beau. New business reports, 16, we have none. 17, Councillor Lorrain. Canada Day. Or Canada, I should say.
I don't know if anyone can hear me or not, but so I wish we could have talked about this when there was a full room and people would have heard about it. But I think at the last meeting, I kind of jokingly said we should hold a contest or something for somebody to sing the O Canada, and we record it. So I've spoken with the Ag Society, not necessarily with the Lions, 'cause I think the Ag Society is the one who's taken the promotion stuff this year during the event. And I'm working with them, and I think we have to get it in within the next couple of days if we want to get some signage done as well. But I think we can get 30 to 40 minutes mid-afternoon in between sets where we can invite probably 10, maybe 12 people up to sing O Canada. And we have 3 judges, and they pick the top 3, and the top 3 get a little prize or something, and the first one will get something. But then I don't know how we work this. This will probably be Monsieur Le Duc or something, where maybe at the August meeting they come in and they sing it here, and we record it so that we could then play it going forward at our council meetings to replace the version that we heard tonight.
The opera version?
The excruciatingly painful version of that song. I think it would promote our local talent very nicely, and I guess what I need from council is, you know, I have no problem if we take the money from my discretionary budget, because I know I have a lot left in there, and I'm not trying to do anything odd here. I'm just trying to grab the money from somewhere so that it doesn't come out of publicity or whatever, or we could use that, I don't know what it is, but, you know, the prizes that I'm thinking of were something like, you know, 3rd place, 2 passes to the fair, weekend passes to the fair. So we're promoting local stuff. 4 passes, and then the top one maybe 4 passes to the fair and a 1-month membership at the gym at the Dome, something like that.
Ag Society might be interested in donating some too. As well.
Yeah, so just so, you know, you know, if we want to put up a banner too that says "O Canada Singing Contest," I don't know how much it costs, Mr. Leduc. I didn't know if we got a price or we got a coroplast board or something promoting it.
It'd
It's
be
us.
100, maybe less, to
Couple hundred
150.
for a
It's-
banner.
Yeah, it's
So-
nothing major.
Can we say that, you know, we can spend up to $500 or $750 on this? Hopefully it comes in a little bit less, but just so that we can go ahead and get this going.
Okay. Monsieur Leduc?
I think there'll be some money available in the special events line for council.
Perfect.
There's some things that won't be going ahead this year, so.
Okay.
I've already lined up a very special, one special judge. So if we get a couple more, like I said, I'm more than willing to sit there and listen since I questioned it, but
Just make sure it's a bilingual version.
yes.
We play the bilingual version here, so it'll have to be a bilingual version that we anticipate recording.
Yeah.
Councillor Saucier.
Well, I was just going to say we could promote it through our communication, like Chantal Mercier could put something on Facebook, and we can have, you know, I think it would go far. We wouldn't even need a banner, especially since it's just a one-time little contest. But I already have 2 people lined up that want to sing it. So.
It's gonna be
that-
first come, first serve, sign up that day.
Well, that was my question.
Yeah.
How do they come? Like,
Worst
are they just
case-
going to register online on the website or something?
I have to work that with the Ag Society on how people will register, but
They could, a suggestion? Well, the judges will have to pick.
we only have room for 12. 12 to maybe 15, like, we got 30 to 45 minutes.
Yep.
And that's it, so.
Maybe what we can do is, you know, if there's more people to draw, or create a Facebook event page, and people can notify us that way they're interested, and just make sure that Madame Mercier puts that out of, you know, if we have more than 12 participants, it will be based on a draw system.
So it's like the a photography contest that we're doing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really getting out there, so.
Okay.
But we're 2 weeks away. That's
Yeah.
the thing, right? So my suggestion, and again, this is just me, is that it's a sign up that day type of event, not a register in advance type of event, and it's a first come, first serve. It starts at, you know, we'll get the time out there, and that's why I'm thinking the banner when the people walk into the area, 2 o'clock or 2:30, whatever the time is, singing of O Canada for, you know, for township meetings or whatever it is on the banner, special guest judges, X, Y, and Z type of thing, and prizes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we'll decide, figure that out. I can work with the Ag Society and get all that sorted out, so.
So, Monsieur Leduc, maybe have our communications person order a banner right away. Oh, Canada.
We already start to work on that.
Okay, perfect. All good. Everybody's okay with that?
Yeah, I'll get you who the first celebrity judge is
Okay.
after.
Perfect. Item 18, public meetings and hearings. We have none. Item 19, motion to move into closed session meeting at the hour of 10 p.m. to address matters pertaining to Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, Chapter 25, to consider matters relating to 1, environmental assessment, rural Ottawa negotiation, or Russell Ottawa negotiation under Section 2C, a proposer pending acquisition or disposition land by the municipality or local board. Item 2, Emblem Branch Public Library relocation under Section 2B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, and Section 2C, a proposer pending acquisition or disposition land by the municipality or local board. Section 3, lease or of future paramedic station under Section 2C, a proposer pending acquisition or disposition land by the municipality or local board. And Section 4, human resources bylaw under Section 2D, labor relations or employee negotiations. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Conseiller Brisson, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. We're now in closed session. Thank you very much, everyone.